morning. I'd like to call the Board of Supervisors meeting for June 5th, 2018 to order. Please take your seats and cease conversations. Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Supervisor Cerna?
Here.
Kennedy?
Here.
Frost? Here. Natoli?
Here.
Peters?
Here.
And you have a quorum. This meeting of the Sacramento County Board of Supervisors is cablecast live on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on the Comcast, Consolidated Communications, and AT&T Uverse cable systems. The meeting is closed captioned and is webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. Today's meeting will be repeated Friday, June 8th at 6 p.m. on Channel 14. A DVD copy is available for checkout from any local library branch. Members of the audience wishing to address the board may fill out a speaker slip and hand it to staff. When the chair calls your name, please come to the podium. Also, please silence your electronic devices at this time.
Thank you. Would everyone rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to say good morning to everyone. Welcome to the 2018-19 budget hearings. I want to give you a little lay of the land here, which is that we will be hearing from the county executive and various budget departments. Then we will have lunch, then more budget presentations if needed. Public comment will be in the afternoon after lunch, so that if you are here to do that, just so you are aware, I wanted you to know that you could come back after to the afternoon. Then after public comment, we'll have board deliberations and then consideration of consent matters. So our next speaker, our first speaker, is our county executive, Nav Gill.
Good morning, board members. I am pleased to present to you the fiscal year 2018-19 budget. One of the main things in this budget, the highlight, is that we continue to honor the board's priorities and investments that the board's made in the previous fiscal years. Some of them not a comprehensive list, but as homeless work that we've done for the last couple of years, that funding is maintained. We also have maintained funding for parkways, unincorporated community cleanup and safety, and also the work that we've been doing since 2015 on the mental health crisis system, implementation of the services plan, and mental health services for the homeless. All those.
I'm sorry, Nav, if you could pause it. Could people that are talking in the back please go outside and have your conversations? It's really hard to hear the speaker, even if you're whispering. Thank you.
So we've honored all the commitment that the board has made, so the budget does take care of that. For the upcoming fiscal year, it's very limited growth that we're recommending to the board. Primarily, the growth is in health services, and Britt's going to go over the nuts and bolts in the budget in a few minutes, but that does draw down state, federal money, and it's in mental health, it's in our health services area. That's what we have put most of our money in. Also, we have added positions in our development services related departments to expedite and assist with development processing. The other feature in this budget, which is different than last year, is that we have a different way we're budgeting and accounting for some special revenue, be it realignment, Prop 172, and MHSA. So all those have a different accounting treatment that Britt's going to go through it. That allows the board in one document to be able to see all the different funds, where they're coming, what the reserves are behind it. So in my closing, as I give this to Britt, it's that we believe the budget is a balanced budget. It does take care of the priorities the board has that you've had in the last 5 years and going into next year. So that's the essence, the summary of the budget. So Britt.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gill. Madam Chair, members of the board, Brett Ferguson, the county's Chief Fiscal Officer. So to begin with a summary of the all funds budget, the total's $4.29 billion. That's a $162.8 million, or 3.9% increase from the FY 2017-18 adopted budget, and that increase is the actual net result of increases and decreases in a number of funds, but it's mainly due to a $115.7 million increase in general fund and restricted funds, and I'll talk more about, as Mr. Gill said, these new restricted funds and why they have to be combined with the general fund in a little bit to understand what's going on. A $73.5 million increase in the airport systems funds, mostly due to capital projects, and in particular a major runway project. A $14.2 million increase in waste management and recycling, or solid waste funds, due primarily to additional costs related to single-stream recycling and various capital projects, most significantly the Kiefer landfill liner project, and a $9.2 million increase in capital project funds due to the nature and timing of various capital projects, including projects to address Americans with Disabilities Act deficiencies in county facilities, funded by a 0.25% increase in the facilities use allowance charged to departments that occupy county-owned buildings. As I mentioned, the total budget is $4.29 billion, and that's comprised essentially of approximately $1.7 billion in enterprise and special revenue funds, which includes things like solid waste, airport, transportation, the roads fund, transportation fund, water resources, and various internal service funds. These generally represent monies that are earmarked for certain things, either by federal or state government, or fee revenue, money that the board cannot spend on other types of activities.
Before you move on, Mr. Cerny has a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If you can go back to the previous slide, Britt, I appreciate it. I just want to underscore something that I think is very important for the public to understand, that I'm not sure you emphasize to the degree I think needs to be emphasized. When the public sees a chart or a slide like this and it says a $1.62.8 million increase, the folks that are concerned about the various conditions of different departments and programs, how should they be considering that statement that we have a $162.8 million increase? How restricted is it, is my question. In other words, how much of that is discretionary, and so we can kind of set the stage appropriately so everyone understands that we just don't have $162.8 million to do whatever we want with.
Right. So let me, if I could, just move on a bit to these for a moment, because I think this will help set the tone. As I mentioned, out of the total $4.2 million, $1.7 million is related to enterprise and special revenue funds. That money is pretty much restricted and can't be spent for whatever the board wants. It can be spent on roads if it's in the roads fund. It can be spent on solid waste, the solid waste fund. Part of that increase is in some of those funds.
And that additional revenue, not all of it is coming from what some might just consider under the purview of Sacramento County, meaning property taxes, sales taxes.
Right. That's correct.
These are federal dollars, these are state dollars, and some
correct.
general fund dollars.
I
That's
think
correct.
you're going to get to that, aren't you?
Yeah, I will get to that in a general sense, and then I can provide more detail if the board. The general fund is here. That's $1.7 billion, and that includes really three categories of funding. One is discretionary revenue, which I think is what you're alluding to, Supervisor Cerna. This is the local tax dollars, primarily property tax, but some other tax dollars and some other revenues. That is the money the board has the discretion over where to spend that money. And a part of that increase is related to an increase in discretionary revenues. And then state and federal money, and you can see that state and federal money is up. It includes about $859 million. So that's money that is earmarked for certain programs. So, for example, CalWorks or Medi-Cal, or programs that can only be spent on those programs. And then there's the remaining departmental revenue, which is other sources of funding that is also generally earmarked for certain things. Could be fee revenue, could be grant revenue. It's revenue that, again, usually cannot be spent on any other program. Then we have these new restricted funds, and that totals $862 million. This is money that used to be reflected as revenue in the general fund, but are now reflected in these restricted funds, and that's really comprised of two categories of funding. One is semi-discretionary revenue, what we call semi-discretionary revenue, which is the Prop 172 realignment money. This is money, we call it semi-discretionary revenue because it is earmarked for certain things, but generally speaking, there's some flexibility within broad parameters of how this can be spent. So for example, mental health realignment can only be spent on mental health programs, but there is some flexibility in which mental health programs that it can be spent on. Prop 172 revenue, which is a statewide public safety sales tax that we get a share of, must be spent on public safety programs, but again, it doesn't specify which safety programs, whether it's the sheriff or the DA or probation. It can be spent flexibly within those areas. So it's limited in what it can be spent on, but there's some flexibility. And then there's other revenue in the restricted funds, which is primarily the Mental Health Services Act, but also some clerk recorder fees. And so the money that actually the board has total control over is the discretionary revenue, which is discretionary resources, I'd say is about $682 million. And that portion of that increase in the $115 million in general fund and restricted funds is related to that, but only a portion of that. And a relatively small portion of that actually increase in discretionary revenues.
Britt, before you go on, this is a nit, but and you're an accountant, so I don't expect you would want us to change anything, but is there, I mean, Mrs. Cerna has a point about the discretionary money. Is there a way for us to come up with a different title for these, for the state general fund and the county general fund? Is it, I mean, in the future, would there
Pass-throughs versus county
word
funds?
it so that the public can somehow easier to understand?
We'll
I mean,
look
not.
Yeah, we'll look into it.
Yeah,
the way we treat these restricted funds and the negative, that, yes, we are trying to come up with a better way to lay that out. But let me explain a little bit about why we have these restricted funds and why it really reduces expenditure. It appears to reduce expenditures in the general fund, and that has to do with the way the county has historically received revenues from these sources. That's 172 and other sources. We've typically received these in unbudgeted funds that are sometimes called trust funds, but they're basically unbudgeted funds. They don't appear in the budget anywhere. And then the money from those funds is transferred to general fund operating departments as needed, and it was treated only budgeted as a revenue in the operating departments that received it. There was nothing in the budget that indicated how much money was retained, beginning balance in those so-called trust funds or unbudgeted funds, how much was left in those funds. That didn't appear anywhere in the budget. And this approach is actually not consistent with rules adopted by the Government Accounting Standards Board. So we've moved to try and come into compliance with those rules. And so to address that, our office and the Department of Finance has been systematically reviewing all the unbudgeted funds to determine which of those need to have, some of them are appropriately trust funds, truly, but most of it actually should be budgeted in one way or another, and we're still going through that. We haven't completed that process, but we have identified at least the 5 categories of revenue that I've talked about here and that Mr. Gill talked about that need to be included in these restricted funds. Again, that's the Prop 172 revenue, 91 and 2011 realignment revenue, Mental Health Services Act revenue, and micrographic and certain other clerk recorder fee revenue. And with this change, the revenue from these sources will now be budgeted in the new funds as revenue, and the money will be transferred to the general fund operating departments, where it will be budgeted as an expenditure or appropriation in the restricted funds and a reimbursement in the general fund. And a reimbursement is a negative appropriation, and that's done in accordance with accounting rules to avoid double counting, because otherwise if you showed it as an expenditure in the restricted fund and you showed it as an expenditure in the general fund, it would essentially double count your budget. So that's the logic behind budgeting it as a negative. So the bottom line is, though, to compare this year's budget, general fund budget for the recommended budget for 18-19 and the adopted budget for 17-18, you have to add the restricted funds and the general fund together, and that's where you get the total that we talked about before. So that's sort of how we got here.
Is that something that we'll see every year going forward, or is this a kind of a one-time shift to a different terminology?
Well, of course, each year now will be compared to the prior year, which will be in the new format. But as Mr. Gill said, we are trying to look at a different way to do this that will be easier to explain, and maybe we'll be able to do that in a way that doesn't show this negative appropriation. So we're trying to figure out a way to do that to make it more clear.
It's a one-time shift, but what we're working on is how to explain this, that there's apples to apples when you start going back 4 or 5 years.
Right.
Madam Chair, I would just say when you show a negative appropriation, if one doesn't have a point of reference that ties them back, and you can say, well, if you look at what we did. So I think it's really important for understanding. Yeah,
as I said, Mr. Gill has asked us to try and find a way to do this in a manner that is more transparent and more easy to follow. And
non-accountants can understand.
Exactly, right.
Correct.
Right. Okay, so that's a summary of where we are, and as Mr. Gill said, one of sort of the key components of this budget is that we have continued funding for all of the key initiatives that the board began over the last 5 years. Over the FY 18-19 budget includes over $100 million and over $46 million in net county cost to continue funding for those initiatives that the board has undertaken. And I'm going to just go through a number of them, but not all of those initiatives here. The first is the initiative to address homelessness, and these are the 4 initiatives, and your board is aware of this, but for the purposes of the audience, these are the 4 initiatives adopted by the board in 2017 to address the homelessness problem in the county. The fiscal year 17-18 adopted budget included $8.6 million for these efforts. The recommended budget includes $12.3 million, funded in part with $4.9 million in redevelopment agency residual or boomerang revenue. Another is the Parkways and Unincorporated Communities Cleanup and Safety Initiative. This initiative was approved by the board as part of the fiscal year 17-18 budget with the goal of reducing the incidence and mitigating the impact of illegal camping in the American River and Dry Creek Parkways and in the county's unincorporated communities. The recommended budget includes $6.7 million in funding to continue these efforts.
Could you pause for a moment, please?
Yes.
Mr. Cerna?
Thank you. I just want to make sure I heard you correctly. So are we maintaining the same appropriation for the boomerang funds for the same group of homeless services that we did in the prior year?
Essentially, yes. Okay. I mean, our cost for those services has increased, but our boomerang funds have not, except by a small amount, so yes.
But they're being appropriated to the same purpose?
Yes,
okay.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Yeah, one more question, Mr. Ferguson. Mr. Natoli?
Yes, just on that point, and I know in my briefing yesterday we talked about that. I think it's important to note that because, folks, we may not refer to them as boomerang funds, but it's understood obviously by folks in the audience and others as to what the source. At least you kind of tie that back to relating it to the general fund allocation. And so I think it's important again somehow to show that, so that in future years, obviously we look at this programming and or as that funds grow or other needs. I would just say that one of the things that's been brought to my attention is that with a housing bond that may be on the ballot, as I mentioned to you yesterday, in November, whatever the outcome of that is that the need for matching monies for housing may very well, this might be something the board will want to consider in future years, obviously not for this year's budgeting. And so I think it's important, Britt, however we disclose that for those that follow this closely and for this board's information.
Right, again, here we use the technical terminology of redevelopment agency residual, but we should probably include in the actual budget document boomerang funds, okay, so everybody understands what that is.
Okay, very
Besides
good.
us.
That would help. Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
Another initiative is the Regional Parks Pilot Visitor Service Debris Removal Program. The 2017-18 budget included funding for this pilot program to provide for additional trash removal and seasonal staff in the parks with the goal of proactively responding to problems or issues and making users feel more comfortable using the regional park system. The recommended budget includes $410,000 in funding to continue this pilot program. Another is the rebalancing of the mental health crisis system and implementation of the 3-year Mental Health Services Act plan to expedite mental health services to the homeless. Beginning in fiscal year 15-16, the board approved significant investments in the county's mental health system designed to more effectively serve the increasing number of people in the county dealing with mental illness. Examples of investments included funding for mobile crisis teams, community care teams, and additional subacute beds. The recommended budget includes a total of $202 million in funding for various mental health services, including $34 million in new funding for the expansion of certain mental health programs, including those in the 3-year MHSA plan to expedite services for the homeless or those at risk of becoming homeless. Oops, too quick. Another is the Intelligence-Led Policing Initiative. Over the last 3 years, the board has approved funding to implement the Sheriff's Intelligence-Led Policing model. This is a model that combines the use of crime intelligence and data analysis with community-oriented policing. The goal is to use timely crime data to target resources at problems or potential problems more quickly and effectively. The recommended budget includes approximately $10 million in funding for this initiative. Another, Healthy Partners, Healthcare Services for the Undocumented. The board approved implementing this program as part of the fiscal year 15-16 budget with the goal of providing limited healthcare benefits to adult low-income undocumented county residents. Enrollment was initially limited to 3,000 people with an age limitation of 19 to 64 years. The program reached full enrollment in August of 2016. In February of 2018, just recently, your board approved increasing the enrollment cap to 4,000 and eliminating the upper age limit. The recommended budget includes approximately $8 million in funding to continue this program. The plan to reduce disproportionate African American child deaths. In 2015, your board approved a strategic plan to reduce disproportionate African American child deaths that focused on addressing the 4 leading causes of this problem: homicides related to child abuse and neglect, third-party homicides, deaths related to perinatal conditions, and infant sleep-related deaths. Plan implementation has included investment and involvement from many county departments, including probation, child, family, and adult services, health services, and human assistance. The recommended budget includes continued funding for this initiative in multiple department budgets. The new adult supervision model in probation. In fiscal year 17-18, the board authorized and funded the implementation of a new adult supervision model in probation designed to establish a risk-based supervision system that will target resources on those who pose the greatest risk to public safety and reduce offender recidivism. The recommended budget includes $4.7 million to continue funding for this program. The Sheriff's ShotSpotter Initiative. The FY 2017-18 budget included funding for the Sheriff's ShotSpotter Initiative. This initiative uses sophisticated sensors to detect, locate, and alert law enforcement of illegal gunfire incidents in real time and funds additional deputies to be assigned to designated areas to respond quickly when a shooting takes place. The recommended budget includes approximately $1 million to continue this program. And finally, just of the ones that I'm listing here, animal care initiatives. Over the last 5 years, the board has made significant investments in staffing and program enhancements in animal care as part of a proactive effort to reduce shelter intake, increase community options to spay and neuter pets, and increase the shelter's live release rate. During this period, the board has approved adding 26 positions, almost a 100% increase, and invested in various departmental programs. All told, the recommended budget for animal care totals $11.6 million, up from $4.3 million in FY 2012-13. So now to the general fund. As I indicated previously, the total general fund budget, $1.719 million. That's a 30.3% decrease, but that's due to the change in accounting and budgeting practices. when you factor that out and really look at the real increase, when you add together both the general fund and the restricted funds, we're looking at a total of $2.581 billion, which would be an increase of $115.7 million, or 4.7%. And some of the major changes, I won't go through every change, but some of the major changes in the budget: base salary and benefit increase, $54.4 million, 4.3%, includes things like cost of living adjustments and so forth. But $31 million of that increase is an employer share of retirement costs, a 19% increase compared to the FY17-18 adopted budget, and that's driven in large part by the Sacramento County Employee Retirement Systems, or SCRS, decision to reduce their discount rate from 7.5% to 7% and phase that in over a 3-year period. Unfortunately, we expect to see roughly equivalent increases in each of the next 2 years in order to implement that discount rate reduction.
Madam Chair, just a question. So you're going to see $54 million increase over the next...
The $54 million is total. That includes positions that were added during the year. That includes COLAs. That includes...
So what's the portion attributable to the SCRS?
31 million. That includes both the discount rate decrease and just the general changes for our based on their...
So we'll see 31 million compounded next year?
No, not exactly, but yes, in that range, yes.
And now employees are paying a proportionate share as well, right?
Employees they do also have an increase. That's not phased in. That's a one-time increase.
That goes in force in July,
yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay, but so we will see roughly $90 million in increases just on the retirement side, give or take?
It's not exactly, because there's other factors, but it'll be another probably at least 20 or so million each year. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Before you start again, Mr. Ferguson, Ms. Supervisor Frost has a question.
Are we anticipating further adjustments on SCRS?
Well, we have heard that there's a possibility. We don't know for certain. PERS and some of the other agencies are looking at further reductions. We're not the only one. PERS went through a similar adjustment, and other 37 Act counties have gone through some of these adjustments. We don't know yet. There's been no further action by the SCRS board at this time. Next one is IHSS provider payments, a $15.1 million increase, and that's due to the new IHSS, or In-Home Support Services Maintenance of Effort, or MOE, which was approved by the legislature as part of the 17-18 budget. That's a phase-in of a new MOE over the next few years, and that does not reflect the cost of any supplemental wage increases for providers the board might agree to in negotiations. We're able to cover this increase this year due to increases in social services realignment and the carryover of prior year social services realignment. But if there's no change in the IHSS formula, and there is a reopener in the legislation, it doesn't guarantee a change, but it allows for there at least to be a discussion between the governor's office and CSAC about changes in 1920. But if there's no change, we expect that the MOE will increase significantly in FY 18-19, and we will not be able to cover that increase with realignment revenue. So that will impact net county costs. We've got the UC Davis lawsuit settlement payment, $7.8 million. We'll spend at least this much. This is our first year of payment under the settlement of the UC Davis indigent healthcare litigation. This will be the first year of that. We expect a similar amount or more in each of the next 15 years. Mental health, new facility, and hospital caseload increases. That's a $5.7 million increase. $3.4 million is due to increased demand for services at inpatient mental health hospitals, and as we know, that demand has been increasing partly because of outreach that we're doing, which is a positive thing in that sense, that we're able to identify more people that need assistance, but it does have a cost. And then there's a $2.2 million related to the cost for a new psychiatric hospital or PUF facility, Heritage Oaks. That's scheduled to open in January of 2019. That is not a net county cost. That is funded with state and federal money, but it is reflected in the budget, the last one. Then, of course, we have new and enhanced programs. We'll be talking about in a little bit, the so-called growth request. That's $45.7 million. And then we have an offsetting reduction here in the human assistance aid payments budget of $9.8 million. And that's due to caseload and cost trends and certain policy changes. Caseload declines are anticipated in CalWORKs, foster care, and adoptions programs, but those declines are partially offset by increases in caseload in some programs, the CNI or cost of living increase for certain programs in the governor's budget, and the increase in the general assistance grant approved by the board that's going to phase in again over the next 3 years starting in 18-19.
Before you move on, Mr. Natoli has a question.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Britt, just back a moment to the mental health facility and caseload increase. So, recognizing, I think, important that you pointed out that obviously with the additional work with mobile outreach, but certainly some of the programming with our providers and so forth, that we're hopefully helping more people get well and address their issues. I guess my question is here, though, in previous years, we've had this calculation that if we brought a facility on with 15 beds, and I think we're looking at this as the third one, if I'm not mistaken, that you referenced, that somehow that would relate to reduced hospital bed days. That hasn't been the case, and it may be because of what you said a moment ago, and and we just, we're talking about apparently a rate increase as relates to that, but that's like $27 million a year, if I recall correctly, for those inpatient bed days. Do we anticipate that there will be any net?
We do, and I think Dr. Damiano and Uma can speak to that during their presentation. But yes, our numbers do assume that there will be a reduction related to the opening of the new facility. It's just that it's offset by, additional demand.
So
yes, it would be higher if it wasn't for that, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
So our offsets aren't as rosy as we've seen in some previous years, where somehow we were going to see a $10 million reduction, and that wasn't Sandy's presentation this year, but in previous years we've seen that calculation that.
I'm looking over there, but I don't think that
I don't believe that's how.
Okay, all right. So we'll get into it more in depth, but I mean, again, that was some of the budget premises that we saw going back probably 3 years ago, and in years subsequent to that, we were going to see these.
Right. And as you know, there's been significant delays in opening some of these facilities, which also have, not allowed.
Right. You don't get the net benefit for both the people we're serving, but also maybe some of the trade-offs versus inpatient versus some of the people that were able to be treated in those settings. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. And then just a final. Just not a lot of money, but just to highlight it, there's a $600,000 transfer directly from the 1991 Realignment Restricted Fund to the IHSS Public Authority. In prior years, there was no county support for the Public Authority. It was funded entirely with state and federal revenue, but with the change in the MOE, that funding is not sufficient to cover their costs, and so this is a first-year allocation of $600,000. There is money identified in the governor's May revise, because this is a statewide problem. To help alleviate that, we're still analyzing that. We don't know what that means for us. It may be that if that covers the entirety of the $600,000, we'll be able to take back that realignment money and set it aside for additional IHSS costs in future years, perhaps, or for other related increases in IHSS. But right now, it's in here until we figure out what that means for us. Okay. So that talked about sort of the general categories of increases, and now I'm going to turn to some of the major increases in specific budget units. And these are not all of the budget units with increases or decreases. The truth is there's both increases and decreases, but these are just the budget units with the largest increases. So first of all, just to remind the board, during fiscal year 17-18, you approved a reorganization of the old Health and Human Services Department, splitting that into two new departments, one the Health Services Department and one the Child, Family, and Adult Services Department. So really, to realistically compare the budget, there is no old budget for Child, Family, and Adult Service or old budget for Health Services, so you really have to compare the combined budget for those two departments with the old budget for Health and Human Services. And when you do that, you'll see that there is a $56.7 million or 10.1% increase in appropriations in those two budgets compared to the old Health and Human Services budget. And that's due primarily, as Mr. Gill mentioned, to the inclusion of, in this case, funding for 17 growth requests totaling $42.3 million. And we'll talk more about those later, and I know both Dr. Damiano and Michelle Gallegos will talk about those as well. The remaining increase beyond that amount is due to a variety of factors, including salary and benefit cost increases for existing staff, a $3.4 million increase in inpatient hospital costs that we just talked about due to increased demand for services, the new PUF, and a variety of other lesser cost drivers. The next largest budget unit increase is the sheriff with a $19.1 million or 4% increase, and that's due primarily, again, these are all adjusted for we took out the reductions due to the change in the way we budget for restricted money. So $19.1 million or 4% increase, and that's due primarily to increased salary and benefit costs for existing staff. Then IHSS provider payments, already talked about that, a $15.1 million, 17% increase. And then non-departmental costs, $11.1 million increase, or $56.6 million. That's due primarily to the first year UC Davis settlement payment of $7.8 million, a new $1.8 million general fund share of fixed asset acquisition fund, or FAF debt service. The FAF was funded with bond proceeds that were set aside to loan to departments to purchase capital items, and the funds that were in that fund to pay debt service that were repaid have reached a point now where they're insufficient to cover the costs, so that requires a general fund contribution of about $1.4 million. And then to the amount of repayment of money transferred to the general fund during the Great Recession, that's $6.7 million, and that's in accordance with the six-year repayment schedule presented to your board. That's the total amount. There's a slight, about $1 million increase from last year because that was the schedule that we presented to your board.
Britt, Mr. Natoli has a question.
Yeah, just thank you, Madam Chair. So on the repayment schedule, what is, again, I think it's an important point of reference because for those certainly here in the audience that recall, and this community recalls very well, that decisions we had to make when the Great Recession hit, and that we borrowed internally. And so it's taken us a number of years to continue to pay that back, to build up at least a few $1 million in reserves, and to obviously take on some initiatives you've described. What is the outstanding amount that we still have as it relates to repayment? Because we borrowed upwards of nearly $80 million internally, if I recall correctly. So
correct, and I'm going to get to that later, but I'll just summarize. We borrowed $77.65 million starting in fiscal year 809. The amount repaid so far through the end of this fiscal year will be $44.2 million, and will continue to owe $33.5 million.
Yeah. Again, I appreciate you pointing that. I didn't know you had it later in your presentation, but it's an important point of reference because, again, we borrowed internally from funds that had been set aside for either designated purposes, and again, I think making good on our debt, as we have done in many different cases, continue to repay that. Obviously, it'd be nice if we could pay it all off at one time, but when you see some of the hits we take, and when I look at the IHHS, again, there's a whole reference point going back to the early 2000s about that and what the state was going to do, and legislature and then governor and even subsequent governors, and what ultimately ends up, we take on that responsibility. These are Sacramento County residents, as well as obviously the folks that are providing those services in large part. But the deal changes, and so who ends up holding it is this county and our community, and we do that again. Because it's we have the obligation, even though I think that it's a moving target, and I think it's important that in the context of this budget, oftentimes what we contemplate based upon the then law, the then policy, state direction in a number of cases, and so we move forward and do our part, and then end up in oftentimes, and I think it's historically you can the accuracy of that can be identified and pinpointed, that we end up making good on that for the people of this county, and but it's a strain on the budget. It's not just your presentation in dollar amounts. When you look at many multiples of millions, it's tens of millions of dollars, and it does absorb capacity that we might have to do some of the initiatives certainly we've embarked on, but to support those in a greater amount. And so I just want to make that point. So
It's all true.
thanks.
Mr. Ferguson, as long as you've paused, I'm going to take this opportunity. A lot of people have entered the chambers since we started the meeting and made announcements. Public comment on any issues will not be heard until this afternoon, well after 2 o'clock. So you're welcome to stay and listen to the whole budget presentation, but if you came just for public comment, then know that it will be after 2 o'clock sometime. Thank you. Go ahead.
Sure. So the next budget unit with a significant increase is Human Assistance Administration, a $6.2 million or 2% increase, and that's due primarily to increased salary and benefit costs for existing staff, partially offset by the elimination of 65.1 vacant positions due to declining caseloads in multiple programs. As you know, funding for staffing for these eligibility programs waxes and wanes based on both caseloads and other factors in terms of federal and state funding. We typically can increase by a significant amount in a year or decrease by a significant amount. And then also a $3.5 million increase due to the full year implementation of the homeless initiatives that were only funded for part of the year in FY 2017-18. So, and then Correctional Health Services, a $4.7 million or 9.7% increase. That's due primarily to increased salary and benefit costs for existing staff, a $600,000 increase in pharmaceutical costs, a $900,000 increase in contract psychiatric services costs, that's the contract with UC Davis, and a $1.4 million increase in allocated costs due mostly to the allocation of Health Services Department overhead to this budget unit. And I think the thing to understand there is the sheriff did not allocate overhead to when this was under the Sheriff's Department. This was moved under Health Services as part of the reorganization. It doesn't change the total cost across all budget units because, of course, this allocation of cost means that some of the money goes back to Health Services, so, but it just does spread that cost out differently. And it's one of the reasons for the cost increase in correctional health.
Could you pause for a moment, please, Mr. Anatoli?
Yeah, just on the actually the item above though, but so with the human assistance reduction, Britt, you said reduce caseloads, and so I don't think there's anything in our charts here that show numbers of folks and whether they be on CalWorks or otherwise. Is that attributable to an improving economy, at least in some respects, as it relates to the job market? Or what you say you eliminate 66 positions in human assistance.
Well, you know, I can't speak to what's causing this, and maybe Ann Edwards could speak to that. Okay. But we are seeing, in some areas, caseload declines and cost declines. In some areas, increases. I think I mentioned that earlier on the aid payment side. What the cause of that is,
okay. Well, we don't need to get, but those are dollars, I guess. The other point being that flow down through. So typically,
it's mostly federal and state money. It's really
there's
not
very little
money.
general fund, if any, as a part of that.
Very little. Yeah.
Okay, and then on correctional health services, is that largely general fund?
Correctional health services is largely general fund. There is some other realignment funding in there as well, but largely general.
Discretionary realignment, though, yes. So that would otherwise be available to us.
Yeah.
And just let me ask you then on the fixed asset, the way that's being calculated, or the allocated costs. On the allocated costs, those allocated costs were being borne by other departments.
Those are the overhead costs, essentially, the administrative and overhead costs in the Health Services Department that they allocate among all their units, all the units that are part of the Health Services Department. Okay. Many departments do that, but the sheriff historically did not allocate their administrative overhead to Correctional Health Services. If they had, then their budget would have been lower and Health Services would have been higher. And right now what's happening is when Health Services is allocating their costs, so Correctional Health's budget is higher and their budget would be somewhat lower, and that's sort of what happens. You
mean the sheriff's budget?
No, the Health Services budget.
Right. So, but the sheriff, you said, did not
allocate. Right.
Well, obviously, the costs were covered somewhere.
Yeah, they just covered it probably out of net county costs.
Out of net county costs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So does that money that then still remains in net county costs in the sheriff's department,
Right.
that's available for other use within their department, or no?
No, because their overhead didn't go down. So overhead is pretty much fixed. It's like the cost of, accountants and management and stuff like that. It doesn't change as a result of this.
So the sheriff's department, there was no net gain because their budget didn't change. It wasn't offset by a like amount, but even though it was allocated, you couldn't pinpoint it. So the sheriff's budget
So,
stayed the same.
for example, you still have the sheriff, and he's still going to be paid the same.
Right.
Just because they didn't allocate that cost doesn't change the fact that you have that cost. So what's happening now is you're taking the overhead for the health services department, which includes the director and all those people, and you're allocating it out to the various divisions and programs in the department, which now includes correctional health. So if that did not happen, then the budget in health services would be higher.
Budget in health service would be higher.
Would be higher, correct.
Because that's where the costs would be allocated.
Because, it'd have to go someplace else, because those costs aren't going to change.
But so I still understand with the sheriff. So we shift this out under health services. They didn't allocate it, but the costs were still covered, as you said, through net county costs. So how do you track those dollars then? Were they retained in the sheriff's department overall budget,
Yes,
or
sure.
did they didn't follow the dollars, or did the dollars follow to the health
No,
department?
because they were never allocated. So the sheriff's costs haven't changed a bit from the fact that we moved correctional health over to health services.
So is that a net gain for the sheriff?
No, because they haven't changed their overhead costs. They still have a sheriff and an undersheriff
Yeah,
and
right. I get all. Yeah.
captains and all the things they have.
It's a zero-sum game. The sheriff didn't allocate it, but that cost that he has, that sheriff's office has, they're allocating it. There's no change to that. Just because health services moved out didn't mean that their costs went down.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, that's the point that Britt's trying to get at.
Right.
And so, and why is health services have to? It's a fairly large department, again, and we were largely using general fund or realignment discretionary dollars here, so why wouldn't it be absorbed
Health
there?
services has a much more disparate and complex set of funding sources for all the various programs they have. So presumably that's why they allocate. And a lot of departments do allocate all their costs, and that's presumably why they allocate their costs. They've got Medi-Cal money, they've got all sorts of money that
We can
goes into
get
their
reimbursement from state, federal money.
Right.
It's a different formula than what the sheriff had.
So did this, I guess my final question is, so did this tie up any more discretionary dollars by virtue of what we did? I mean, did it basically rope off those monies that would not be available for other things by virtue of moving the department?
I'm not sure we could say that. No.
You can't. Okay.
Yeah.
Because we drug some costs that were just blanketed in. I just want to be clear.
No, I don't.
Okay, you don't think so? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
You bet. Please continue.
And then lastly, the district attorney with a $3.4 million or $3.8 million increase due primarily to increased salary and benefit costs for existing staff. Now, turning to newer enhanced programs, the recommended budget includes a total of $12.4 million or $8.86 million in net county costs in newer enhanced programs that are funded in whole or in part with net county costs. So we typically divide our description of newer enhanced programs, those programs funded in whole or in part with net county costs, and those that are funded without any net county costs, that is discretionary resources. And so I'm going to just briefly go through all of these. I think Dr. Damiano and Ms. Gallegos will talk about it with regard to their departments later. First of all, CPS placement costs of $200,000 in net county cost, and that's additional contracts for group homes and other services aimed at trying to place hard-to-place foster care kids, to place hard-to-care foster care kids. The department actually asked for $700,000, and given the resources that we had, we were only able to fund $200,000. It's a critical need. The department believes they can make pretty effective use of that $200,000, but just to let you know, they did ask for an additional $500,000. Mental health treatment center nursing staff, that's $392,000, all net county cost. What we're seeing is with increasing caseloads in the mental health treatment center, we're having difficulty meeting state standards for nurse-to-patient ratios, and that, in addition to being a legal requirement, also has an impact in terms of the health and safety of patients in the facility. So we're adding 3 nurses to the department has been sort of scrambling and working hard to try and cover that, but it's proving difficult, and so we're adding 3 nurses to address that issue, recommending the addition of 3 nurses to address that issue. Behavioral health contractor COLA is $1.7 million, $900,000 net county cost. These are not increases for the employees of these contractors. These are actual increases in the contract amount. That's a 3% COLA for Questwood, a 2% COLA for the subacute bed contractors, and then for children's mental health providers, an additional, also a 2% COLA, partly in order to keep us competitive in terms of being able to compete with other potential users of these facilities, and to make sure that they're able to adequately staff and provide services. Inpatient mental health hospital rate increase, that's $3 million. That's all net county costs. The budget reflects a 2.5% increase in the bed day rate and certain other contract changes for 3 contracted inpatient mental health hospitals. Again, this is really critical if we're going to continue to receive those services and meet the increasing demand that we've been seeing in these areas. This next one is obviously an issue that your board is very familiar with, and is an issue that I'm sure that Dr. Damiano will be talking about at some length, but that's the drug Medi-Cal waiver. And this is for 6 months of funding just for this year, because it'll take about 6 months to get it up and running. It's $5.9 million in total, $2.95 million in net county costs, and because it's half a year funding, the cost will double in fiscal year 1920. This is to provide additional alcohol and drug treatment services and serve additional beneficiaries. It allows for a waiver of certain rules that allow for better Medi-Cal coverage for certain drugs and other treatment services. So it's a significant investment, and one, as I said, that will be talked about at length, I think, in Dr. Damiano's presentation. A consultant to review health system needs is only $100,000, but it's a critical component. That's all net county costs. We have a number of county programs, primary health, juvenile medical services, correctional health, that utilize a system called AS400 that provides Medi-Cal claiming and payable services. The system is 33 years old, and the vendor has discontinued support. This growth request would allow for contracting with a consultant to help identify the most cost-effective way to replace this system. Currently, our cost estimate for replacing it is upwards of $1.4 million, and we're hoping to find a way to do this at significantly less cost than that in a more efficient way. So that's the reason for this. Rather than just go in and spend the money, we want to go ahead and take the time to really look at it thoroughly and see how we can do that. Sheriff, $100,000 heavy-duty towing contract. That's all net county costs. Now, this is for the towing of heavy-duty vehicles, large trucks, boats, recreational vehicles that are essentially abandoned and parked illegally along county roads. And this will augment $310,000 included in the code enforcement budget to cover the cost of towing abandoned vehicles. And your board may remember that in February of this year, you added $100,000 to the original $210,000 in the adopted budget. So even though these are in separate budgets, we look at this as really a total of now $410,000 available to address this issue, which we know is an issue of sort of growing concern in the community.
Could you pause there a moment, please? Supervisor Frost?
This was really important in my district, and I think also Supervisor Cerna, actually all of us were struggling with this. So we've been working on this over time, and do we anticipate that this is going to clean up the existing backlog of RVs, and then if totally clean it up, and then moving forward manage it? And if we need more funds there, will there be more funds to just really put this problem to rest?
Supervisor, we do believe this will address the issues just as you outlined, get the backlog taken care of, as well as provide ongoing funding to be able to address kind of a continuing condition. And we've coordinated that with the Sheriff's Department and our code office, looking at trends historically of what the demand is that we're seeing, projecting forward, and then having enough capacity to address that. So
Is it going to be like a clean sweep and all of a sudden they're gone within a month, or is it going to take 6 to 8 months?
Well, I think it will be a clean sweep, but it won't be as quick as July 1 because we have to get the contracts in place with the Sheriff's Department. So we actually kind of think it's the fall time frame for the big sweep.
Okay.
We have ongoing efforts right now, but
I know everyone's going to be excited, so thank you for working so hard on that.
The next is $942,000 for personal computer replacement software upgrades. That's $842,000 in net county costs. And what this relates to is by 2020, Microsoft will discontinue support for any personal computer systems other than Windows 10 and Office 2016, and most of our computers are not using those systems.
Those are the lucky people.
Yeah. Departments
Could I interrupt for just a second? I'm sorry. Mr. Natoli had a question on your last item, so.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm back on the heavy-duty vehicle towing contract. Certainly just to comment to Supervisor Frost's comment that you may get a clean sweep, but they're going to magically reappear. Maybe the different vehicles. But what I wanted to ask about here, is there any ability, most times obviously the ability to track down the last registered owner is not great, but I think now that we're approaching $500,000 annually in this county just for towing vehicles, and some of the boats and so forth, they've taken any markings and identifying information off, but in some of those RVs and so forth, there might be other information available. It would seem to me, again, without spending more time and money than it's worth, to try to seek some recovery on some of these, because otherwise, I think certainly the word gets out there that easy to dispose of. You just park it beside the road and folks will pick it up. And so I guess I'm curious as to whether with enhanced enforcement and quicker attention to the problem, which I concur, it needs to be dealt with. It's throughout the county. Is there any ability to do some follow-on to actually try to get some of these folks held accountable?
Supervisor, we can investigate that element of it. I can't today, as I sit here, define what's allowable under the law. My green light's on, but nothing's happening.
All right.
I think
You're talking, though.
We've said that many times, Mike.
I think to Mike's point, we will absolutely investigate that. I don't think we have that information in front of us. We'll continue working on it, work with County Counsel's office, see what kind of legal remedy we have on it.
Yeah, and maybe seek some civil enforcement. Again, it may not be in every case, but if you can recover on some of these, because the disposal costs, you can run, as you were telling us, it could be $8,000 or $10,000 depending upon the size of the unit, what's involved in disposing of it properly. And so, okay, I was curious whether, because we have stepped it up to the point being made here, and I'd like to see us try to recover some of those costs if at all possible. Thanks.
So just to finish up on the computer replacement, so as I said, departments are transitioning to the new systems over 3 years, starting in actually this year, fiscal year 17-18, and this represents the money in this request represents the net county cost of those upgrades for a number of departments, and we're making it available by the cancellation of part of the general fund reserve for technology upgrades. And then the last one here is the business license, 50% fee reduction for veterans. That's $24,000, all net county cost. Currently, veterans receive 100% exemption for business license fees for businesses that sell tangible goods and pay the full license fee for businesses that provide services. The recommended budget would provide a 50% reduction in fee veterans pay for those businesses that provide services. And we're currently looking, that's a maximum allowed under our current ordinance. We're currently reviewing the ordinance, and with a view to trying to bring an amendment to the board that would allow for 100% waiver of the fees for veterans.
Good.
Then, in terms of non-net county cost programs, there is approximately $40 million in non-net county cost funded new or enhanced programs that are included in the recommended budget. And I'm not going to go through them all here. Obviously, your board has had a chance to review them. I'll just highlight just a few of them. One of them is the mental health services for youth, MHSA, $4 million funding in prevention and early intervention funds to focus on foster use. That's part of the Mental Health Services Act plan that your board approved. Another, also related to the Mental Health Services Act, but other funding as well, and I mentioned this earlier, and it'll be talked about later, is Mental Health Services Act for the homeless. That's $24.25 million, and as I mentioned earlier, that funds the expansion of mental health programs included in the 3-year MHSA plan, and that particularly focuses on related those either at risk or subject to homelessness. That includes both the county's various homeless initiatives and the City of Sacramento's Whole Person Care Program. That's funded with $17.2 million in MHSA funds and $7 million in federal revenue. Also under mental health, there's increased support for Turning Point Crisis Residential Program, $506,000. That's a contract increase to support costs associated with staff recruitment and retention, a critical issue that they're having, and that's funding from state grants. We've been able to fund that with state grant money. In the sheriff, there's $684,000 to add 2 deputies to serve the Rancho Cordova City of Rancho Cordova under our contract with them. That's funded with revenue from the City of Rancho Cordova. Mr. Gill mentioned significant need in the area of development review in terms of the workload there. A total of $942,000 in a number of budgets: planning, development and code services, and water to address workload increases, including adding an assistant planner in design review, 2 building inspectors, an associate engineer in development and code services, and an associate engineer and assistant engineer in water resources. This is all focused on making sure we can try and process permits and development issues as quickly and efficiently as possible. And finally, just mention here solid waste. There are $282,000 to add 4 sanitation workers to facilitate the single stream recycling program. And again, that's just a sampling of some of the growth requests out there. Unfunded requests. Departments submitted over 80 growth requests that we were not recommended funding, primarily due to lack of available resources. The total cost of these requests is approximately $40 million, $31 million in net county costs. Many of these requests address critical needs in a variety of program areas, including CPS, Adult Protective Services, Corrections, the Sheriff, Health Services, and Regional Parks. This slide shows just a sampling of those requests, and I won't go through them, but they're noted in the budget document, as your board is aware.
Pause right there, Mr. Antoli.
Yes, could I just ask you about the third bullet, the emergency housing for older adults? I know that in last year's budget hearings, and I think in a report from our Adult and Aging Commission, that we heard about a need for safe houses, just so we have for domestic violence, for children that are vulnerable and such. What was the nature of the request here, and what was the cost associated with that?
I think Michelle's going to be making a presentation. She has this information.
All right.
I don't have it on.
Because for purposes of discussion, as we get into any further budget discussion today or tomorrow, deliberation, I guess I'd like to know what the... Yeah, I know we go into the budget document, but we had conversation about this last year.
We'll make sure Michelle covers them when she gets
All right, very good. Thank you.
And she could go into the details, which I can't here, but I can tell you it was a $500,000 request, $250,000 net county cost.
So we actually had matching money, so we had $250,000 from a grant.
Why don't we let her cover that since she knows the details?
Okay. All right.
There is one point that I wanted to pause on the unfunded request. The sheriff approached Brett and myself last week about a proposal on looking at body cameras. It came after the budget request, so it's not up on the slide. We are going to be working with the sheriff's office what that proposal looks like. So there's 3 different options. Work with the district attorney's office, public defender's office, county council, because there's a much broader look at it. And what I will propose is that once we've done our work is to come to you in a workshop setting, let you know what the proposal looks like, what are your options, funding, impact on the different departments. So I just wanted to make sure that it was in front of the board that we do have that proposal to look at.
Thank you. Britt?
Okay, so just summarize briefly a few other issues in the budget. 17-18 budget had $82 million in one-time revenue. The recommended budget, $17.7 million. That's a $4.4 million decrease, and significantly reliance on one-time discretionary and realignment revenue has decreased. So that's a positive thing. General fund contingency, basically $2 million. That's a $2.3 million decrease from the 2017-18 adopted contingency. As you know, in the 2017-18 budget, we included some essentially one-time money in the contingency to address some issues we knew were coming. But still, that's not quite as positive a thing. That's less than 1% of general fund appropriations, which is a relatively small contingency. Interfund transfer repayment, Supervisor Natoli already asked about this, and I won't go through it again, but you can sort of see.
Before you move on?
Yeah.
Supervisor Frost?
I have a question about contingency. I think we allocated a little over $4 million last year, and we utilized all the contingency last year. And so how will we manage that if we're allocating so much less this year?
So the amount of the contingency we use in any one year varies pretty significantly depending on need. Last year we did use the full $4 million. In the prior year I think we had $2 million and we used pretty much all of that, but we didn't need more than that. It just depends. It depends on the year, depends on what comes up, so it's really hard to say in advance. Obviously, the other thing that we look to is during the year some departments have a budget savings, and so if we don't have enough contingency, we can always look to transfer appropriation from one department to another if it looks like they're not going to need that. But that's the sort of thing we have to do. As I say, it's a relatively small contingency for a $2+ billion budget.
Thank you.
So I won't do that. Every year we just recap for your board general information about transient occupancy tax revenue. Basically $6.7 million in revenue this year. Not much change from the prior year. It's pretty similar. It includes funding for the usual things that we funded. The legacy organizations like the Convention and Visitors Bureau, Center for Sacramento History, Metropolitan Arts Commission, the $1 million annual community grant program that your board started last year, the board district funds that you have used each year, ongoing support for the property and business improvement districts, economic development programs and TOT program administration, basically same level as before, and then general fund, just support generally for general fund net county costs. No major changes here.
Just a second, I'm sorry. Ms. Frost, I just took you off the board. Are you back on, or did I screw up here? Okay.
I'm back on, thank you. I have a question relating to legacy funding. And I know
Legacy.
Oh, yes.
The legacy funding, I noticed each year we have a set number of organizations that receive what we call legacy funding on an annual basis over and over. It's like we just give it to them every year.
Correct.
But we have a growing county with other amazing resources. One of them is in Folsom, Harris Center. It's $50 million, 80,000 square foot regional arts center. It's estimated to have 45 million yearly impact on our local economy, and they produce vibrant programs for children and for everyone of all ages. And it's I've been over the past year trying to find a way to get some of this funding for Harris Center and for other areas in the county. I noticed most of the organizations that are listed here, they're all amazing. Most of them are in Sacramento, so they don't necessarily represent geographically, what's going on throughout the county. And so I guess I'm asking if we can take a look at this and either find a way to update it or make it equitable for all parties in the county to be able to participate in funding such as this. Or maybe, put more people in there and with a little bit less so that everybody gets a little bit. I'm not sure how that works.
So Supervisor Frost, our plan on this is in January when we come in to get board policy on TO. We plan on bringing this item up. A couple years ago, we did ask the board, do you want to continue with the legacy funding? And we got a nod to continue the funding, put in the budget. So we'll work with your office, see what else items you have. In January, when we come back, we'll pose that question to the whole body.
No, there's other areas, like Rio Linda has a wonderful theater company, and they'd love to have a stage. Or, there's all kinds of things going on in the unincorporated county as well that we could be giving them a leg up. So thank you very much.
So this, you'll remember, is a updated version now of the table that we presented last year for the first time, and it looks at the 11 large counties plus us that we typically compare ourselves to, and in terms of discretionary reserves, which is essentially reserves that the board has control over. In accounting terms, it would be like assigned, unassigned, committed fund balance, as opposed to the restricted balance that is legally restricted. And that's so what you want to focus on is the red column, because that's a combination of all those things. And a thing to keep in mind, really, in advance of sort of talking about this, is each of us is unique. Those counties are unique. We're unique. We all have different circumstances, good and bad. In our case, we have a significant unincorporated area population. Some of the other counties also have significant unincorporated area populations, not probably as much as us on a percentage basis for the most part, but significant. Some of these counties run county hospitals, which historically were a big money loser. We do not, and some counties don't. Most of them do. And counties have different levels of tax base, particularly property tax. The assessed value per capita varies significantly. Some are relatively wealthy in terms of their property tax base, and some are not. So there's a variety of different factors that we all have to deal with. That having been said, the real issue is how do we deal with those? And you can see here, or you could see if it's pretty small there, but there's both some good news and maybe some not so good news. So the good news is our fund balance continues to be positive. The official balance in the 16-17 CAFR at the end of fiscal year 16-17 was $37.7 million, and that's an increase from the amount at the end of 15-16. And before that, as you probably recall, for many years, since 2010, that balance was actually negative. And in fact, at one point, it was as low as a negative $57 million. So the positive thing is it's been increasing, and that's been noticed by our rating agencies and others. And so that's a positive sign. The bad news is if you look at how we compare to the other jurisdictions, we only have about 1.6% of general fund revenue in unrestricted fund balance. And the next closest county to us that's similar in terms of overall budget is Riverside. That has 8.7% of the general fund revenue in unrestricted balance. That's about $250 million compared to our $37.3 million. And others range from San Mateo, which is a frankly very wealthy county, and that has 63.4% of revenue in unrestricted balance, to Orange County with 11.9% in unrestricted balance. The county closest to us in budget size is San Bernardino. They have 21.4% of general fund revenue, or $561.4 million in unrestricted fund balance. So we still have a ways to go, but we are at least heading in a generally positive direction.
I have several people who wish to speak. Mr. Cerna?
Thank you. So this chart, Britt, shows only 12 of the 58 counties in the state of California. If you were to show all 58, would you have counties that have a negative, show a negative condition?
I don't know. I haven't gone back and looked at all 58. I mean, obviously you have counties like Alpine that are, a few thousand people that I just don't know what they are. I
just want to point out for the public's sake that these are select counties for, comparative purposes on the positive side, and it doesn't tell the whole story necessarily in terms of where we lie on the spectrum of fiscal health, because we don't see the balance of the majority of counties in the state of California.
Supervisor, and I think that's a good point. The reason we look at it that way, when the rating agencies look at us, these are the counties that they compare us to. So when we make our presentation, but they have given us positive, they've upgraded us, so we are not in a negative position with them. But you're right, some of the smaller counties, it'll look different, but this is who to compare us to.
Or there might be other counties that are, maybe even have a slimmer positive condition too. I mean, again, all we can ascertain from this chart is how it compared to 11 other similar counties.
Correct.
True.
Thank you. Ms. Frost?
I wanted to, my understanding is that these are the medium-sized metropolitan cities. Is that why they're comparing us by population and budget, et
These are
cetera?
the counties that are, our population are higher.
Yes.
A couple of them might be, Ventura is smaller than
So
us in
it's,
population.
in theory, apples to apples, that's what they're comparing us to.
Yeah, what they're looking at is major urban counties, and what is the financial situation with them?
So my understanding, based on my experience, is that because we don't have the reserves, and because we still owe on funds that we borrowed from, we have a lower credit rating, which means we pay more for the credit that we do have. And so it's actually costing us money to not have reserves and to have debt to ourselves and so forth.
That is,
Costing us a considerable amount of money.
if we went into the bond market at this point, it will be, but we are not in the market. So we haven't been in the bond market for about 10 years because of the constraint we've had. So the debt that we have that we're paying on has the ratings that it had back 10 years ago, and we're paying on that. If we went to the bond market now, you're absolutely correct. We will end up paying more in interest because our ratings have come down. But on the positive side, as we reported in the spring, one of the rating agencies has brought our credit rating back to what it used to be 10 years ago because of the work that the board's done on the fund balance, the repayment that we talked about, half of that's gone back, and the economy that's improved. So they've given us
Encouragement.
encouragement. Yeah.
But we still have a ways to go, and I want to continue to go on record as saying that's important to me, to improve our credit rating and to build our reserves and reduce our debt that still exists from the downturn, so that we can, in the event we do have to go looking for credit, that we can pay less for the money that we get. So I just wanted to make that statement. Thank you.
We share that goal.
Thank you. Mr. Natoli?
Yeah, just briefly, because I think it's, again, this chart's important to show, and, however one draws a comparison or whatever you deduce from this chart, I think that when I, looking at Sacramento County, though, what that does reflect, obviously reflects good work over the last several years to restore some ability to have flexibility, certainly if we need to go out for bonded indebtedness, and to have credit ratings that reflect good rates, but also I think it reflects in two bars the choices that this board, on behalf of the community we represent, have made over the years. And in a recession, you could go take this chart and run it back and see what we had in reserves going into the recession, and how, again, decisions that were made in a very public way, we made choices about what we were going to do in order to preserve services to some of the most frail, most vulnerable people, but to the general population of Sacramento County. And again, I don't think this needs to have, certainly to have any excuses behind it. I think that what it does reflect, though, is choices we made. And I guess if I live in some of these counties where I saw these large fund reserves, I'd be asking about, what did you do for me lately? Because when I think about the needs in this county, the diversity of its population, diversity of its geography, certainly the large unincorporated area population, in addition to the entirety population of 1.5 million people, that, in just as you've outlined in the last hour, Britt, this, the context of requests, but also of things that we've funded, both initiatives, but things we do as a matter of course. It's nice to have a rainy day fund, but I can tell you, certainly two of us, and I know Mr. Cerna got here on the tail end of a lot of it, we know having those reserves, and what happens, it bought you some more months of service, but ultimately we made tough decisions, and again, those times could come. And reserve may give you a little buffer towards it, but you could have $100 million in the bank, and you can get wiped out very quickly through state actions, through economic conditions, and so forth. And so I'm not arguing that we shouldn't have some, obviously, reserve as prudent from the standpoint of finances. But in the county finance world, it's so unpredictable. You don't know. And you've outlined some of the things. And again, the state giveth and the state taketh away. And again, we control our destiny to some degree. But I would just say, and again, I just wanted to make this point, Madam Chair, because this chart's important, that this reflects choices in providing services to real people of all walks of life, of all ages in this county. And again, I think that it may, in a chart, it may pale by comparison to some other counties, but our responsibility is the people of this county, and I think that we do our best, each and every year in budget deliberations, but certainly throughout the course of the year, to make sure we have a balanced approach and that we prioritize appropriately, and that's what this reflects. So.
And Supervisor Natali, those are the comments we echo to the rating agencies when they pull some comparison. That's their job to be the analyst on it. But we do bring those points up that this is how we got to. There's a story behind it.
Sure.
But they have acknowledged that the county has done good work. We are getting our credit straight, so that does position us. When the time comes for us to ask or borrow money, we'll have a better rate than where we've been in the past.
Thanks.
Thank you. Go ahead, Brett. Conclusion, I believe.
It is, yes. So just to recap, I think the points that Mr. Gill made at the beginning of the presentation, it is a balanced budget as required by law. There are limited new or enhanced programs, particularly net county cost-funded programs. We do generally maintain current services, and in particular, those initiatives that were of a top priority to your board over the last 5 years. We have continued funding for all of those in some cases and enhanced costs, and we will be working on strategies to address priorities, board priorities in a sustainable way over the future that we'll be bringing back to the board in the future to make sure that we're able to do that. So then our recommended action following your taking of public comment and deliberations eventually will be to approve the budget resolution and then take action to direct the Department of Personnel Services as indicated on this slide.
Okay, thank you. And are there any further questions for Britt? Thank you very much for a comprehensive discussion.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is to discuss the district attorney's budget is Anne Marie Schubert, our district attorney.
You got it? Okay, thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Suffice it to say, first of all, Madam Chair and members of the board, thank you for letting me come in and speak, but suffice it to say I had a few things on my mind this morning, not the least of which is the importance of this budget presentation. I realized this morning that this was my fourth official budget presentation. But before I was elected, I recall very distinctly Mr. Grippy from our office doing the last presentation for then District Attorney Jan Scully and making a very memorable point to me, which was that we are supposed to be good stewards of public funds. And I believe in that very strongly. And so when I come here today, I do not say this lightly. That is that every year that I've come to do a presentation, if there are needs, it is only because I feel strongly that those needs are very much needed. We do not over-ask for things that we want, but we simply ask for what we need. And so in this particular year, there's a few things that we've asked for, one of which we're going to agree that we can forego this year. But I want to go through the things that I do believe very strongly that our office needs. They are not significant, in my opinion, in terms of cost. So we had 4 growth requests this year. All 4 of those growth requests were denied, but I want to go through those and explain to you, as I say, in the trenches, why we feel strongly that these are needed. First of all, so there's 4 categories of requests that we made. The first one was to reallocate 2 of our full-time supervising IT analysts to full-time IT managers. Net county costs at $37,000. Add 2 additional full-time audio-visual specialists that right now are currently temporary help. upgrade one of our vehicles to a Class 154. And then the last one, which we are willing to forego in terms of requesting, is adding a full-time attorney for elder abuse financial crimes. So the initial growth request was for a total of $284,575. But with the elimination of the attorney position, the total net county cost of what we're requesting is really $101,000. I would remind the board that our total budget for the district attorney's office is $95.7 million. This growth request of $101,000 represents 0.1% of our total budget. The IT managers, I just want to kind of go through some of the reasons why we feel very strongly that this is critically necessary for our office. Again, we're asking to reallocate 2 full-time supervising IT analysts to full-time IT managers. These managers, one of which is here today, Mr. Ishii, they have been in a temporary upgrades since November of 2017. DPS had initially approved the class appropriateness for these in January of 2018. I would remind the board that the net county cost for this reallocation is $37,000. A few things that are important for the board to understand. I think the board understands that our IT division stands alone. They manage our IT for a total of 400 plus employees. Some of the programs that and projects that they have worked on, the most significant of which is they have internally developed our own case management system, which is called Diamond. It has really become a statewide model for other district attorneys' office on how to manage their information internally. Some of the other projects that we have underway, that some of which have been underway for several years, but because of the lack of resources and the volume of work have not been able to be fully implemented. Couple types of projects that are in addition to our case management system. They are responsible for implementing how we manage our body-worn camera practices. They are responsible for our crime laboratory, which is one of the few district attorney's offices in the state that has its own crime lab. They are responsible for trying to integrate our juvenile court system and our DA's office into our Diamond system so that we can have an integration of our case management. Much of our juvenile court records are confidential. That has been a massive undertaking to make sure that we comply with the law. We have been trying for several years to move this county into the 21st century and get us on board with electronic discovery. That has been on the list for many years. Moving to electronic discovery within our office will ultimately save the county money in terms of costs of discovery. Our IT division has been responsible for maintaining our IT security. And because we are a law enforcement agency, it's critically important that we maintain that every day. We have been probably inundated with Public Records Act requests, many of which have to do with IT and how many cases do we file, what types of cases do we file. We ask our IT division to help us with those. And recently, with the passage of Prop 64, our office is trying to collaborate with other officials to make sure that we are capable of doing the expungements that are allowed for under Prop 64. We've relied upon our IT division to help us with that. So with respect to all of these requests on the IT reallocation, we believe very strongly that this is critically important and the net county cost is not significant. And then just one last project to give you an example of other things we asked them to do. Several months ago, prior to the arrest of Mr. D'Angelo on the East Area Rapist case, I asked our IT division to help us develop a case management, clue management system so that we could manage the information. That system that they wrote, of which they do for many types of applications, is now being utilized by several counties so that we can manage the massive volume of information related to that case. This is just another example of over and above what we asked them to do. These 2 IT managers currently supervise 25 individuals, with 2 more coming online soon. They are not just managers, they are working managers. So I would again urge the board to consider this. Again, it's something that we not only need, but we need it desperately. The second request that we
I'm
made...
sorry.
Yes, sorry. Slow down.
I have a couple questions for you.
Sure, yes.
First is Mr. Kennedy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just so I'm clear, District Attorney, so what exactly are you asking for here? I mean, this is the reallocation, so you already have these two positions.
Well, our division chief, division chief position was frozen when our chief left. We then asked for the supervising IT analyst to be reallocated to managers. That was agreed by DPS back in 2017, November of 2017. And then we put through the process, when I'm starting to learn all these little forms and things, in January of 2018, that they would be class appropriate. That was approved. But ultimately, when we did the long form, that was denied. So what we're asking for is to reallocate those senior IT analysts to 2 full-time IT managers. They're currently already in that temporary position, but that request was
But what's the
denied.
difference?
What do you mean?
Temporary versus permanent?
Yeah, I mean, what
Yes, it's essentially to make them permanent positions. We've frozen our IT chief position. We don't have that filled, and so we've asked to reallocate the senior analysts to managers. So yes, to create them as being full-time positions.
Can I have a response from the...
Yes, Board, we have been in discussion with the District Attorney's Office, and also this morning, executive staff has been in conversation with Department of Personnel Services. I think we can look at a way to restructure the positions as far as perhaps not filling a chief position and then classifying those as department managers.
So this sounds to me to be less of a budgetary issue than a personnel matter.
It's a structural issue within personnel, yes, that's correct.
And we're going to work through it?
Yes, we can do that.
Okay, thank you.
We'd like that. Thank you.
And do you actually need the budget money?
The 37,000.
It sounds like we're spending it. That was going to be my question.
Right.
Yeah.
We're already spending the money.
My understanding from my briefing yesterday was, I realize you were unable to make the briefing, but that maybe you didn't need the $37,000, that it was already in your budget.
Well, I'd have to ask, is that, okay, they're shaking their heads, yes.
Okay.
We want the positions. That's the most important thing, and
Okay.
that's the most important thing.
Okay. Mr. Natoli, did you have another question?
No, well, yeah, I just want to confirm. I mean, I deduced from what you just said, and I was going to ask you if you want a full-time equivalent allocated with that particular, but we're spending the money. So, I mean, if it's not, right? We're already spending the money?
Within those positions, they're a temporary status, so that's correct. The money is being spent right now, and it's just a matter of...
And we would spend $37,000 next year if that temporary status held over all the way through next
Yes.
fiscal year?
If it was held, yes.
Yes.
Okay, and you're asking that we not be a question mark around that, so we'll know how soon will we know this has been worked out?
We can get a report back to you by...
I heard her say she was going to work it out.
Yes. That's,
Work it out.
we can work it out.
Obviously, I mean, the temporary
That's a yes.
positions, the temporary position status, I think had been extended, but I think it ran out at the end of May, so we want this sooner than later, obviously.
Okay.
If that's...
Okay.
Although we appreciate the work with the CEO's office on this. Okay, so then the request relating to what we call audiovisual specialists in our office. I want to just give a little history. So we have in our office, under our IT division, we have staff that helps us with audiovisual requests. And just a little bit of history on that. And we're asking specifically here that two full-time specialists be added, because right now they've been in temporary help positions since May of 2017. So our audiovisual specialists started as employees in 2005. So we've, for 13 years, had folks helping us. We only had 2 employees in 2005 that were allocated for those positions. In 2007, we were given 1 more position. So we have, since 2005, 3 In 13 years, we have 3 employees that are in full-time positions. In 2017, we filled 2 temporary positions. So we have a total of 3 full-time, and we have 2 temporary positions for overseeing and assisting with 189 attorneys, 76 investigative staff requests. The temporary employees, even though they're being paid as temporary employees, must go through what we call LEVA training, which has to do with their ability to testify in court with respect to what they've done on audiovisuals. And they are required to be certified. So what happens is if we don't pick up those employees and we don't have these requests, then we've really essentially wasted all that training and special attention we've played to those employees. In terms of our AV specialists, they processed 18,000 individual pieces of evidence in 2017. 18,000. They produce 175 discs per day on average. And to get down to the minutes, it's 1 disc for every 2.7 minutes. The net county cost of all of this is $43,016. To give you some examples of what they have to do to help our attorneys get ready for trial, they forensically process evidence according to state and federal law, examine, convert, edit, redact, and reproduce evidence. It is very labor intensive. They perform forensic video audio analysis. Again, they examine, they compare, and they evaluate either video or audio. They recover corrupt and malformed data from devices and media. They receive media from all sources that must be converted to consistent format to allow for viewing, discovery, archiving, and court presentation. To give you an idea of the increase in work, and I again remind you that since 2005, we've only had initially 2 full-time, and then in 2007 an additional. So we've only had 3 full-time employees doing this in 11 years. So to give you an idea of what they have to do on a daily basis, duplication, transcription, conversion, media editing, and forensic digital media, multimedia analysis, user support, and technical assistance. I would direct the board to the 2 items, transcription and editing, which for transcription conversion, it's increased 63% since 2015 and 226% as it relates to editing and digital multimedia analysis. So very significant increases in just the last 2 years. To give you an idea of the volume of work, currently we receive 20 terabytes of SAC-PD body-worn camera. I think the board is well aware that in the last couple years we've come to you saying body-worn cameras coming, we support it, but we also recognize there will be significant impact on the DA's office, and that has already arrived with SAC-PD. We fully expect that that will be happening soon with the Sheriff's Department. SSD obviously is equipping their officers with body-worn cameras, so remember that it's our responsibility ethically to make sure that we have it all, we provide it. Sometimes it may require redactions or editing, but again, it's very significant impact, and we put upon our AV specialist. 26,000 plus video files ranging from seconds to hours per file. And just to give you an example, again, 2017, we filed 23,000 cases in our office. Now, not all of them have audiovisual requests, but most of the major units within our office obviously have them. To give you an idea of the volume of work on specific cases, on the Bracamontes case, we had 357 DVDs, 100 witness statements, 30 plus surveillance videos, that all of which had to be not only discovered but formatted, edited, prepared for prosecution in court. We anticipate that with respect to the East Area Rapist case, we will have 10 times the amount of that case. We have 3 pending death penalty cases. All of those have the similar volume of audiovisual in the Bracamontes case. We currently have 91 pending homicide cases. It's not uncommon to have dozens, if not hundreds, of videos related to each of those cases. It could be anything from body-worn camera, cell phone information, surveillance cameras, interviews. We have one misdemeanor case I thought was an important example to represent the volume. We have a domestic violence case where we had simply one case with 70 hours of video that oftentimes has to be reviewed, obviously copied, and provided to the defense. So the third request that we've asked for is to upgrade our current, and this may seem insignificant, but we have currently a sedan that we've asked for a replacement car of an SUV. These SUV we're asking is partly because of increased security, and it increases safety in terms of, we know from looking at other counties, I asked my chief investigator who's here today to do a survey of other district attorney's office, particularly when it comes to security details and things of that nature. And he surveyed, I believe, 5 different offices: Orange County, San Bernardino, San Francisco, Fresno, and even Butte County, all of which are using SUVs in their division. So we're asking for that upgrade. It $20,000 one-time cost and $780 on an annual net county cost.
Could you pause for just a moment?
Yes.
Mr. Natoli has a question.
Yeah, Marie, just with all due respect, in a $90 million budget to upgrade a vehicle, there wasn't capacity in your budget to actually do that. I understand growth requests and
Right.
And I understand the legitimacy of your request, but I guess, in all honesty, without putting you on the spot, I mean, if you need that vehicle for safety purposes, I would trust there to be some capacity throughout the course of the year to actually make that.
Right. I think that my understanding is that we have to go through the board to get that agreement to upgrade it. That's
okay.
and we're willing to absorb the cost. That's the only reason why I'm presenting it.
Okay, all right. So again, if we granted the request without the funding,
Right,
that would,
yes.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
So I appreciate that. Thank you. And then the last one, which I have agreed that we're willing to forego this year, but we do want to just put it on the radar for the board, is an attorney fee for elder abuse and financial crimes. We know that we've seen an increase in financial crimes. They have special laws and evidence codes that relate to that, which require special training. The increase that we've seen in just the last year or so has been from 67 to 97 cases. Currently, there are 24 cases of financial elder abuse within our office, and the net county cost would be approximately $180,437. So just to summarize again, I'm hopeful that we can get to these 3. I, again, believe very strongly that they are necessary, and if the board's willing to support us, I appreciate it very much on this. So thank you again. Any other questions?
Any further questions, District Attorney? Mr. Natoli?
Yeah, just on the elder abuse, so are you going to be able to cover, again, we're seeing the rise in the caseload, recognizing that's an area, obviously, of growing concern, and I know in our briefings we've certainly talked about that, and we're seeing more evidence of that, so the prosecution of those cases with vulnerable adults and so forth. So how is it that you would cover that? You've withdrawn a request for this year, but then...
We have to just look at all of our... look at the budget. We've got many other additional duties that we're asking our lawyers to do, of additional things, so we can look at it and see if there's some way that we can find a position for that. And so we obviously think it's a need.
So you have one position assigned to that now, and you'll be looking for a second position?
Yes.
Okay.
We have a full-time elder abuse prosecutor.
Right.
But the volume is so high that it ends up having to go to, not that we're not capable of handling it within other units, but it is a specialized area that we prefer to have within one unit.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Schubert. Our next presentation is from Sandy Damiano, the interim director.
Good morning. I have a
Sandy.
PowerPoint. I'm Sandy Damiano. I'm the Interim Health Director, Department of Health Services. I'm very happy to be here today. I want to highlight some of our behavioral health program investments for the board that have been included in the CEO's recommended budget today. The short PowerPoint is going to cover 3 key areas of investments: the mental health services expansion that's consistent with board direction, provider rate increases and supports to ensure the stability of our mental health crisis system, and a brand new proposed initiative, the Drug Medi-Cal Organized System of Care. The first slide is on the mental health services expansion. This is a major expansion. This direction is consistent with the November 7th Board's direction to use available Mental Health Service Act funds to provide services to individuals who are homeless with a mental health and co-occurring disorders. Clients may be participating in the county's homeless initiatives or in the city initiative. This is a major service expansion. It will increase capacity by about 1,400 members in all the services, outpatient services, as well as full-service partnerships. It also offers housing supports, over 1,500 housing subsidies for individuals who are homeless. In addition to those outpatient services that are available, there will also be increased capacity within our key access points, which includes the guest house and the triage navigator program. The board approved these programs at the April budget or board hearing on the Mental Health Services Act expansion, and these are in your budget today. The next item is the AB 1114 Mental Health Services Act Prevention and Early Intervention for Foster Youth. This was a service that was also consistent with the board direction to use available Mental Health Services Act funds that were subject to possible reversion for children and youth in the foster care system. Services worked on trauma-informed mental health services and supports with an emphasis on placement stability for these youth and their resource families. Sure.
Mr. Cerna has a question.
Thank you. Just before you move off of the homeless services, and you may go into greater detail, I'm aware of that, but when you say housing support services, I want to make sure I understand that that is exclusive and complementary to the board's action as well as the city's action last January 2017 relative to the resource priority adjustment for the vouchers.
These are housing subsidies.
Okay, so they're complementary.
They're complementary to help house people.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, the AB 111, as we said, is to help with placement stability for foster youth and their families. It will help through use of mobile teams, use of peer supports, and other features for this vulnerable population that's at risk. It was also in the April 10th board item on the Mental Health Services Act funds. The third one is the SB 82 Triage Transition Age Youth Grant. This is a grant for the transitional age youth population, age 16 to 25, and the focus will be on homeless transition age youth. There's a gap in the current crisis continuum in terms of how to reach this target population, which has specialized needs, and they will work to engage them, to link them to other services, and to stabilize their immediate crisis. The goal is to reduce any unnecessary psychiatric hospitalization, emergency department utilization, and to make sure that they're at services at the appropriate services level. This is a 3-year grant that the county is engaged in. Those are all the mental health services expansion programs. It's a very large investment of services for these population, for the homeless, and for transition age youth. The next slide is on the mental health operational needs, and you heard earlier about the long-term investment the county has been doing in the crisis stabilization continuum of care and the subacute level of care. These growth requests really focus on trying to maintain those services. These services are a major priority of county mental health specialty plan services. All of them, with the exception of one, have to do with our crisis continuum of care. The inpatient hospital rate increase was put into the budget as a 2.5% increase. It's actually a 3% increase. It was negotiated at the time this budget was printed. The Crestwood Psychiatric Health Facility is also a 3% increase, and the subacute is a 2% increase. Most of these are having issues in terms of increased costs for staffing to run those facilities. All of us are experiencing difficulties with recruitment and retention of qualified mental health professionals or health professionals. The crisis residential program needs an augmentation. This one is not a rate increase. This one is using federal financial participation. It's to help with the high turnover and vacancy rate that's going on this fiscal year and make sure they can meet their staffing ratios and be in line and in alignment with the other crisis residential programs that are coming online.
Could you pause for a moment?
Sure.
Supervisor Kennedy.
Thank you, Chair. So with this augmentation with the inpatient hospitals and the Crestwood facility, is this going to hopefully negate the need to come back and continually augment as we have the last several years?
It's been difficult, let's say that.
I mean, it's a guessing game.
Yes, it is, but we are budgeting less in this particular budget this year. I believe it's about $6 million less than last year. We have a psychiatric health facility, a 6-bed facility that is supposed to come online in January. They should have 2 crisis residential programs that are going to be fully operational this year.
That's Henrietta and Rio Linda, or which ones are those?
I'm going to have Uma Zakowski tell you about those.
Okay.
Hi, Uma.
Yes, good morning. Yes, it's Henrietta and Marconi. So one is in the south area, the other one is all, focusing on more of a younger adult.
So we'll have 3 of the 4 that we
That would be correct. We're anticipating we'll have by this fall 3 of the 4 that we had considered. That would give us 45 of those crisis residential beds in those facilities. In addition, the psychiatric health facility, the 16-bed, is also going through some of the work right now, and that would bring us, we're thinking about a January 1 date approximately for that, building and all that.
But we continue to search for that 4th elusive site that's funded.
Yes, we are still working on that last one.
That was the one that at one point we had looked at Orangevale. That's the
correct,
one. Okay.
Correct. Right. That's the one where we're trying to, close that place and find another location, but it's been more complicated to get that going. But between those different things, to respond to Supervisor Natoli's earlier question, we are considering that these expansions, which is taken 2.5 years to get on the ground, once they start seeing people, will actually reduce the number of people who might be using inpatient beds by a tune of about 8,000. Give or take. So we will have more capacity. The hesitation is really that we're also increasing our work for some of these populations.
So in essence, the lack of that 4th facility is not only hurting us as far as serving people, it's costing the county probably more money.
Correct. Correct. Because that was our intention, to have the 60 crisis residential beds in our community to be able to have that outflow for everybody.
Thank you.
So,
A couple more questions. I'm not sure whether it's for you or Sandy, but Supervisor Natoli?
Yeah, for Uma or Sandy. So as I heard, Sandy, you said you were going to reduce by about $6 million on the inpatient side, and you gave the number of about 8,000 bed days, which at $1,000 plus a day is $8 million. So what is the total amount? Because we were at $23 million. I think we had to augment that earlier this year, took it up to $27 or $28 million for this current fiscal year we're in. So what are we budgeting for next fiscal year relative to inpatient days? What's the budget number?
I believe it's 21 million.
It is 21 million. Okay, so that accounts for that.
But less.
Yeah, it is less, and so and that's based upon the calculation, consistent with what you both said, somewhere in between 6,000 and 8,000 less.
Yeah, that is exactly what you were saying. What we are doing is looking at what our capacity will get us, and then we are budgeting, aligning that with the inpatient contracting. So there is a sort of give and take of the system capacity, demand, and all those factors built into that.
Let me just ask this, because again, we typically see this. I mean, we're going to ask anytime. You're always good with the information, but as we track that and see those facilities come online, could we have, maybe, periodic updates to the board? Doesn't have to be monthly or maybe even quarter, but somewhere before we get to mid-year budget, and hopefully we won't have to see this as an item, but I think to account for what we're seeing as those facilities come online, and, a reduction in potentially, again, you have to track it throughout the year, so you don't know till you get to the end of the year whether you made it or not, but if we're seeing a trend line, because I know you do trend that for us, make sure that we get that regularly. That information I think is important because it obviously has dollars attached to it. So,
I think it would be best if we did it quarterly at this point, because everything we've given you as of right now is where we are, and as soon as we get the 2 new facilities on the ground operational, that's when we'll be able to show you some
I think quarterly is
differences.
fine, Uma. That'd be great. Okay, thanks, Member.
Thank you. Supervisor Frost?
Uma, I wanted to ask about the Orangevale facility. I first of all wanted to thank you for your all your hard work on that, and I know that we have been working with some of the community who was against the facility, and they're actually on board with trying to help identify a new facility. What is the geographic range of where you're going to be trying to locate that next 4th facility? Will it still be in Orangevale, and will we continue forward with the idea of working with the community so that they can be part of, problem solving on this issue?
I think our immediate issue right now is to be able to, for the provider to be able to sell that property in the market, and that until we finalize that, we're not in a place where we can look for another facility or have the outreach done as far as where the other. Sometimes the issues might, for our community for sure, are dependent on whether there's a good match around the type of facility that's already has the right permits and other factors in the community. So I don't think we have started that other effort until the very aggressive effort being made by the provider to be able to sell the existing property at this point, to be able to have the funds to do the next search.
Is it under contract? Is someone in the process? Is it in escrow right now?
I don't believe I have that answer. I know that 1 or 2 of the efforts failed, but I don't believe I have the answer to whether it's right now on. I can get that information to you separately if you like, but I don't think at this moment. I think it's been really the effort, it's the market really they have to deal with to get that to move.
Thank you.
Okay. Back to you, Sandy.
Thank you, Uma. And what we'll do is in the quarterly reports, we can also note with the progress of some of these new programs that are coming online. Some of them are very hard to cite, and it does take quite a bit of effort to do that. I think that would be helpful. The Mental Health Treatment Center is also on here. It's a request for 3 staff for their intensive stabilization unit and their inpatient unit. It's to meet mandated staffing ratios for the volume that we're processing. That's a critical part of our continuum of care. So those are the crisis and the subacute programs. We also have listed on there the Children's Medi-Cal provider. They continue to struggle with the cost of doing business, particularly with the last minimum wage going up and recruitment and retention of qualified mental health staff. So those are all supporting our key system initiatives that we have. Okay, this next slide starts our drug Medi-Cal organized delivery system waiver. It's a brand new initiative, a major county investment geared toward enhancing and increasing substance abuse services. What is the waiver? It's a voluntary federal state demonstration project. It offers all California counties the opportunity to expand substance use disorder services to Medi-Cal beneficiaries that live in your county. The goal is to really demonstrate how an organized system of care can improve health outcomes and decrease costs on a statewide level. Counties that choose to participate in the waiver, they must use all of the benefits or take advantage of all the benefits, service benefits for clients. It's modeled on national criteria set called American Society of Addiction Medicine. Those are comprehensive guidelines. They're looked at outcome-based care and also the level of placement for clients. The county is county-specific. It's only for our residents on Sacramento County Medi-Cal. It does require a redesign of our alcohol and drug system, which is a fee-for-service system, moving it into an organized system of care. It does require the county to have more responsibilities, including things like additional monitoring, program oversight, more data reporting, compliance, quality assurance, and beneficiary management, like a 24/7 beneficiary access line. But it does offer more local control of services as well. Statewide, 40 counties have completed application, and 11 counties have executed contracts with the state. How does it benefit the county? I'm sure all of you are very aware of our substance use disorder problem in the community. We see it on the national news frequently and on local news. Just a few statistics about our unmet needs. Nationally, 10% of all adults at any point in time have a substance use disorder, and about 75% of those do not receive any treatment for that disorder. 56% of our unsheltered Sacramento County homeless report drug use. And we have about 25% of our adult probation clients have drug-related offenses. Additionally, as you're aware, in 2017, Sacramento County ranked 11th in the state for opioid-related deaths. And marijuana is on the rise in our community with children and youth showing an increase in marijuana use. It's their second highest drug of choice. The waiver benefits the need by increasing access to services, increasing the range and array of services, which I'll show you on the next slide. It also benefits clients who just don't have one problem. People come in with physical health conditions, with mental health conditions, and with substance use conditions, and we need to treat all of those in order to have good outcomes. Some of our populations that we treat in this county, particularly the homeless and the criminal justice populations, have higher incidence of co-occurring mental health and substance use disorders. I know another thing that you're very interested in with this waiver is that you do have access to medication-assisted treatments like Suboxone or Vivitrol. Suboxone is a required element if you opt into the waiver. Vivitrol is an optional medication-assisted treatment. The county would like to opt into that as well. Right now, those treatments are only available fairly narrowly at some primary care homes where they have had adequate training, but they have limited support. This would mean that those medications and the treatment are available within the alcohol and drug system of care as well.
Could you pause for a moment, Sandy?
Sure.
Mr. Cerna?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we have the hard copy of the presentation, so we can skip ahead and see what you're going to present the next slide. And you have plenty of mention of methadone, but since you just brought it up, Sandy, you mentioned Suboxone, so otherwise known as buprenorphine.
Yes.
And this is a relatively new medication-assisted treatment for opioid addiction relative to methadone, which has been around for decades. And it's something that I've been very impressed with in terms of some of our nonprofit clinics in our community that have for years now been treating opioid-dependent constituents with a great amount of success. Something that I've asked for well over a year of this county, from our CEO's office and from your department, is that we look into the prospect of a pilot project that would complement what the small clinic community is already doing, which is having this great success treating opioid-addicted people, and do so at our one and only primary healthcare center at the corner of Broadway and Stockton in the district I represent. So it's because I don't see it on the slide and it hasn't been kind of just put out there. Are you telling me that this is where we're finally appropriating the resources necessary to accomplish that objective?
Well, this one actually puts it in the drug Medi-Cal formulary, so the narcotic treatment providers and others that contract with the drug and alcohol program could also increase it. What you had mentioned is that at some of the FQHCs, the federally qualified health centers, they have some providers, physicians or nurse practitioners that have received the training and that could provide Suboxone treatment and monitoring. That has been limited only to primary care providers and not within the drug Medi-Cal system to date. I do have some news for you at the county's health center. They are starting their Suboxone pilot. It has been later than expected. We've had a series of vacancies. They're very excited and committed to that. They're trying to teach the providers to screen and get people on board. So I think they have started a couple of people. That effort in the clinic is just part of their regular services. It's just taken and trying to get the services lined up, and that is paid through a Medi-Cal program.
So that's where I would find in the recommended fiscal year 18-19 budget the budgetary resources necessary to continue that into the next fiscal year?
Yeah, it's part of their current program.
Okay.
Yes. So that is in there, and I believe most of the FQHCs are also doing that.
Okay.
But it's fairly limited. This will bring it far broader.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Okay. Also with the waiver, it increases health integration. County mental health plan, as well as health plans and primary care medical homes and hospital systems are trying to make greater efforts to coordinate services. People are aware that some of our populations take great efforts to coordinate care. If we have the waiver going, this will allow them to come into the fold of better health care integration. Regionally, some of our neighboring counties have all opted into the waiver. They are using it as an opportunity to pay some of these rates or increase some of the rates to providers. If we don't opt in, we may have some less resources in certain areas. Large counties are using the waiver as part of a service array targeting individuals who are homeless. We would like to do that as well. You might also need this waiver in future programming like No Place Like Home. The waiver allows you also to draw down federal financial participation, which does provide for these new services. And a key feature is that there are longer residential stays for certain populations under the waiver. So it changes the rules, particularly for the criminal justice population. On this next slide, it compares the current services and benefits under drug Medi-Cal with the waiver benefits. And you could see, and we've already talked about this, under the residential treatment, in the current service plan, it is only limited to perinatal, and there is a 16-bed limitation. With the waiver, the residential treatment is appropriate for all enrollees that are on Medi-Cal that meet service criteria, and it's not limited to the perinatal population. There's no bed limitation on that, which is also a change, and the lengths of stays are longer, particularly for some populations that need a longer length of stay. We already talked about how the narcotic treatment providers currently use methadone. With this waiver, there will be expanded options for Suboxone and Vivitrol. It could be with the narcotic treatment providers or with other contracted providers as well, which is a big need in our community today with the opioid epidemic. There are new services, detoxification, recovery services, case management, which helps with care coordination and care integration that are available. There's also physician consultation, which we did not list separately on there.
Just a moment, Sandy.
Yes.
Supervisor Natoli?
Yes, Sandy, just as it relates to the narcotic treatment programs and the citing of those programs, county has a role currently in responding to need, to geographic distribution and such. By entering the waiver, does that alter our ability to weigh in? I know we've had some long-standing discussions with the city of Rancho Cordova as it relates to private providers, not necessarily a public provider. So I want to be clear about that. We still have the same role. We aren't, by entering into a waiver, have to say that, our role is diminished in that.
No, our role's actually increased under the waiver. There is more local
oversight.
control. Yes.
Okay, oversight and control.
Absolutely.
Okay. Could you send the specifics on that so we could have that? I think it would be good to share with our city folks on that. I don't need it today,
Oversight.
but that'd be good to have. Okay, thanks.
Okay, there will be an increase also in access to treatment because there is a 24/7 beneficiary access line, and the guest house will be increasing screenings for the homeless population. Okay, this next slide lists the annualized costs. It's $11.8 million for a fiscal year. Half of that is in federal financial participation. For fiscal year 18-19, it's $5.9 million with $2.95 million in net county costs. The cost calculations were developed by staff utilizing the most recent provider cost reports, utilization and wait list data, and looking at regional comparable rates. They had an external fiscal consultant review their proposed rates and their calculations. That consultant is used statewide. They had a peer county, Santa Clara, also look at their rates and their rate calculations. And the State Department of Healthcare Services also reviewed their calculations and gave them detailed feedback. The state has final approval on the final rate package, and then after go live, the county has one more opportunity to review the rates, the rate utilization, and to modify their calculations post go live, which is a great feature. Okay, the last slide is the post-approval steps if the board approves the waiver. Most of these are either state or federal review of plans to implement a program. This is a very big effort, moving a system from a fee-for-service model into an organized managed care model. There's a lot of steps to go through. This is a pretty aggressive timeline. It's subject to the state and federal approvals, I can say that. It does not list all of the staff work that needs to be done. It's just mainly the approvals that we have on here. It's an extremely large lift for our alcohol and drug staff and the behavioral health staff to move this system. It's a major service change. They're very excited about this change, very excited to have the opportunity to expand services to Medi-Cal beneficiaries. They've received a lot of support, not only from alcohol and drug providers, but also from mental health service providers, health plans, hospital systems, the homeless community, et cetera, who would like to be able to access these services. Okay, any
Further
questions?
Mr. Ernest-Foley?
Yeah, just a kind of a basic question, but it goes to how many more people do we think we can serve when this is in place?
Uma, do you have that number? I have it, but I won't be able to find it for you right now.
And once we get done talking about the waiver, I had some other questions in the health realm, so I can hold those, Madam Chair, until if there are other questions on the waiver. Otherwise, I had a couple other programs I wanted to ask about.
Initially, when we did this, I think over time we will serve many more people, but we did about a 15% increase in our calculations. So right now we serve about 6,000, 7,000 people, and we added. Now, that being said, there are new service levels here, so which we don't have currently in our system at all. So I think it will take us about a year before we're able to tell how many more people we'll be bringing down more. We'll be bringing in more federal match for our programs, have more capacity for different levels of service. But in doing these fiscal plans, you have to sort of look and see how much you can match with the match dollars that you're putting into the program. So that being said, it's about 10 to 15% more that we
might serve for another $5 million, 700 more people annualized, 700 to 850, 900. If I took your numbers, again, I know those are all rough, but 6,000 to 7,000 currently served, which again, I'm not diminishing, but it seems to me that's a fairly significant expenditure.
I think it's in different levels of service, so I can maybe after lunch just look at the numbers and get you a better answer. But there are different levels of developing the rate structures, and until we start seeing people, it's difficult to know how big because we have we haven't had capacity in our community for a long time. So once we open the door to this much more robust service system, it's likely that just as in Riverside County, for example, where they had like a huge bump when they first opened their doors, we may experience the same thing, which is why we have that ability to rework our rates.
So we be able to, we do have wait lists. I know we've had that discussion before this board, certainly during budget time in the past, and you were able to reduce some of those wait times for folks, entering residential treatment, and I heard Sandy's presentation on that, but also getting into other programs more quickly. So I think that'd be an important measure too, as to times, if you expand it, obviously you may have the bigger pool of folks to draw upon, but then I think that's one important measure anyway of how quickly we're able to assist folks in dealing with their addictions.
Supervisor, if I might just real quickly on that point, thank you for your question. I think this is the key question in terms of our range of added services we can provide. What I might suggest in the way of adding on to what Uma already said is that we'll provide regular updates to the board on our reach on this and how many people are able to actually access services and how we're able to address those wait lists.
I think, Supervisor, to tell you the point that on this is that you're right, that's one matrix, how many people we got in, but the other big feature is that the level of service that we're going to be able to provide to folks that are there. So we might not get number increase on the 5 million. I would not want to leave you with the impression that 5 million is only for 850 more participants. It's the span of service that we're doing and more comprehensive and assisting folks get out of the addiction component.
Okay.
Supervisor Anatoli, one other thing which is important in this is that this initiative will fit very nicely with the work being done on the homeless initiative, the MHSA initiative that was talked about by Sandy earlier, because some of the population that is going to that's going to be served is going to be the folks who are between the mental health and the substance use service system who are also homeless. So I think what we're really trying to do here is utilizing the waiver to capture some of the really hard to serve population in our community.
Okay, thanks for the explanation. I'll hold my other questions for a moment. Thanks.
Okay. Mr. Kennedy.
Yes, I just wanted a couple things. First of all, I find the waiver a game changer.
It is.
It is, and as Uma pointed out, when we're talking about the homeless population, but not just the homeless population, the community as a whole. So I think this is a very exciting moment for Sacramento County. The second thing, it's not necessarily apropos to just the budget here, but since everybody's here and we're on must-watch TV today, I did want to also thank Uma and your staff and Sandy, your staff, for the work that you did recently to go after an innovative grant from MHSA for, we were awarded $14 million recently for another urgent care facility along with Dignity Health up in the north part of the county and the north part of the city. All of this is just, we talked about the $44 million that was redirected last year out of MHSA. It just keeps on building upon that, and I think that we're making great headway to actually do good work. So I want to thank you very much, Uma, for the work that you all did to get that. $14 million is nothing to sneeze at, so thank you.
No, it's very good.
Thank you. Any further questions for Sandy? Yes. Mr. Natoli?
Yeah, these are on a couple different topics in the health area, if it's appropriate.
Sure.
Now. I wanted to ask about, as it relates to any additions and or our work dealing with sexually transmitted diseases. I know Dr. Kassiri is in the audience, but when I see those published rates, and I know we've had that conversation, to me that's frontline public health, and I didn't see any particular additions in the budget. And again, it may be something that for after the noon break, you come back, and I'd like to have some conversation as we talk about the budget. And also the Hearts for Kids program, and I know Dr. Kassiri tried to reach me yesterday afternoon late, and I wasn't able to get back to her, but there's a component of that relates to public health nurse visits for children 0 to 5, and I recognize some of the reductions and folks in the audience that can speak to that. I guess I'm curious as to how, if any way at all, we're going to make up for that. I think that those public health nurse visits to the homes where those young children are, and maybe again working certainly in concert with Birth and Beyond and our family resource centers and others, but I'd be curious to know if that just falls off altogether, and if so, what it would take for that component. I recognize there's a delay in getting some of the examinations and so forth, and some of that will be offset, as Lisa explained in the budget document, but I'm curious about particularly the public health nurse visits to the home.
Yeah, and I think Michelle Calles might talk a little bit more also about the Hearts for Kids.
Okay. So that falls under
well, it's a difficult one because it's a collaboration between both. As far as I know, there is not a plan to change the public health visits, public health nurse visits. There's not an augmentation for that.
Okay, so
they are exploring the medical clearance issue.
Right. So if somebody could, for purposes of discussion this afternoon or tomorrow, whenever we get to the deliberations, to kind of know what that number is and what that would mean, either from a staffing perspective or otherwise, I'd like to have the information.
Sure.
And lastly, and I don't know that it showed up in any of the budget documents and so forth, but my understanding was there's been some conversation with the public health officer, maybe with you, Sandy, about assisting with some one-time only funding for one of our college campuses to actually open and provide some clinic services, and it would be a one-time only of about $25,000, and I want to know if that shows up anywhere in the budget document, and if not, again, if we can at least have some comment. And I think there may be people in the audience that want to speak to us under public comment on this, but
yeah, it's not in our budget. I think the conversations came up later. Dr. Kassiri has been in some conversations with our local community college. They did have some resources before. I believe it was through not Planned Parenthood. I think it was the other program.
No, it's not Planned Parenthood.
Yes, that helped with the STIs and also some reproductive health. They lost that grant. They weren't able to fund it anymore. They are looking at public health to see if they could provide one-time funding at this time. She is in conversations with them to see if there's any way to identify any funding for that purpose.
Okay.
It's about 1 day a week. I don't know exactly what avenues they've explored at this point.
All right, maybe again, for purposes of at least this morning's conversation, we could have some information back on that for afternoon or tomorrow. So, okay. Thank you.
Anything further? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And next, we're hearing from Michelle Calais, the Acting Director of Child, Family, and Adult Services.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Board members. My name is Michelle. Yeah, good morning. My name is Michelle Callejas, and I'm here to talk about the Department of Child, Family, and Adult Services. And I aim to keep this brief. I know that there'll be a number of questions, but I want to just give you an overview of the new department, talk about our funding sources briefly, a couple of our recommended growth requests, and then speak to you about the challenges facing DCFAS, including the impact of the first 5 reductions on our local family resource centers. Before I launch into the few slides that I have, I do want to acknowledge the staff within the Department of Child, Family, and Adult Services. Starting a new department is a major endeavor, and our administrative team has done an extraordinary job in leading forth the effort, attending to logistics while also ensuring there was no disruption to services to the clients that we serve. So they've done a great job. I also want to speak, you've heard me talk about how proud I am with the Child Protective Services staff and the services they deliver to our community. I've had the opportunity to learn more about the senior and adult services world, and am just equally impressed with their staff and their knowledge, their skills, and the level of commitment they have to providing quality services to our community. So you can feel confident that the new Department of Child, Family, and Adult Services will represent this board well and also serve our community to the best extent possible. And I want to make one final note. There were concerns with the split of Department of Health and Human Services and now how that could potentially impact the partnerships and collaborations we have. And I will also assure you that I will continue to work closely with Department of Health Services, Dr. Cassirier, on the number of partnerships we have with their public health nurses to ensure medical needs of our clients are attended to, and also working closely with Uma Zajkowski to ensure that mental health needs are addressed from our infants all the way up to our senior population. So those relationships will remain strong, and we'll continue our partnership with Department of Human Assistance as we link our clients to services needed and also look at more housing opportunities for the clients within DCFAS. So, quick department overview. We have a total budget of $121.8 million, and with the adjustment of realignment now as a reimbursement rather than a revenue source, you can see our total adjusted budget is about $198.5 million. We have a total of 1,181.1 full-time employees. And as you can see, the biggest portion of our budget, as well as the highest number of employees, falls into CPS, followed by senior and adult services, and then our department administration. I wanted to just list quickly our funding sources. You can see that the majority of the DCFAS funding is through federal reimbursements. On the child welfare side, that's Title IV-E, the majority of it. And for the senior and adult services side, it's Title XIX related to health services. For the realignment, we received both 1991 and 2011 realignment. If you look at the state general fund allocation, that is predominantly categorical funding related to continuum of care reform as well as to the IHSS allocation. And then we have just a little bit of general fund in the DCFAS budget, and that is tied to our Black Child Legacy efforts, as well as foster care placements and ancillary costs that can't be covered by 4E assistance funding. And then there's also a small amount that supports the Black Child Legacy Steering Committee. Okay, our recommended growth requests. Mr. Ferguson referenced earlier the need for us to get our computers upgraded by 2020. This $180,000 request will help us get senior and adult services in compliance with this requirement. It will be offset with federal funding, so the net cost is $90,000. And then for foster care placements, as many of you are aware, we have faced more difficulties finding appropriate foster care and group home placements for children who are in our care and custody. And part of that has come with the decline in the number of resource families we have in our community, along with an increase in the level of needs that our children and young people are experiencing due to the trauma they have faced. So we are requesting $200,000 to find some creative solutions to try to incentivize folks being able to take some of our kids with higher level needs. For example, sometimes they may need a one-to-one match in order to support them maintaining that placement. So we would utilize funding to try to get that into place. And we will be targeting the kids that we have the most difficulties finding safe and appropriate placements for. The challenges facing, and I can go back and speak to the unfunded requests, although they may grow with I can address the question that Mr. Natoli had about senior housing on the DCFAS challenges.
Speaking of Mr. Natoli, he has a question.
Sure.
Yeah. I don't know if you're going to do that now, because I wanted to reference just the previous slide when you're going to do the computer refresh, and you said you had to do that by 2020. Mm-hmm. I don't know what lead time you need to have. It sounds to me like the match for that was very similar to the match for the unfunded request, growth request for a senior safe house for the elders, which was a higher amount. But how was it that the computer refresh at $180,000, again, a smaller amount, got a higher priority than, say, housing for adult protective services for emergency housing for older adults? And again, if it's a one-for-one match, could we buy some of those services? I mean, you have $500,000 in the request. It was $250 for emergency housing. For the computer refresh, it was $180, 90-90 split. So could you maybe elaborate a little bit?
So the need for the computers, they were the last division to get upgraded to where we need to be for DTEC. And I wanted to say it was 2019.
I thought you said 2020, though.
That's what was referenced earlier. My understanding it was 2019, which is why we prioritized it. So it is $90,000 that we'll be able to leverage from federal funding. The cost for the senior housing, senior housing is a critical need for us, emergency housing. The request for that was for $500,000 for 6 beds. We currently have an emergency shelter in the north area. This request was focused on another safe house in the south area. $500,000 total with $250,000 that we can leverage in federal funding.
Well, I guess what I'd like to see, and again, maybe for conversation this afternoon, I don't want to lose sight of it, is that if you, again, maybe we're going to buy the 6 beds in a house in a given unit with the appropriate services and so forth. But it seems to me for seniors, and again, I don't know what the utilization is, but I trust that the request wouldn't have been there if there wasn't a growing demand and need. And I think it's been referenced here as it relates to a growing senior population, but one that's more vulnerable for a lot of different reasons. But to have emergency housing for the elders of our community, and certainly you need to have a computer system to support the efforts of those who provide those services on the county side of it. If we're looking at 3 beds, if that were a possibility, you could do that for, I assume, just if I did half the cost, I don't know. I guess what I'd like to see, though, is to have some conversation about that. I mean, we've heard a growing call for that need, and as much as I support our technology upgrades and that helps our folks to be efficient and effective in delivering services, I'd like to have some conversation. Even if we did a half a year and bought 3 beds, you could get that cost down to at least the general fund portion of this. The DTEC, again, if I was going to do a comparison, in my own mind, I guess I'd have to be persuaded that if in fact we could defer another year to 2020 on the computers, maybe not. But I'd like to see us have that conversation to get some of those beds for the south area. Again, I've been out and visited the Safe House for the elders that's in the north part of our community. It serves people countywide. Mm-hmm. But I think with that population, the vulnerable senior population, and certainly geographically have a place where people that are subject to abuse of all types can have, be housed in emergency situations. To me, that's key and critical, and I'd like to have a conversation either this afternoon and or whenever we get to deliberations, but have some more information behind that, Michelle. I don't want to catch you off guard here, and again, this is a big budget unit, but certainly have NAV and your folks take a look at that as well. Maybe how we could at least set a tone to at least start doing that and buy some capacity in the southern part of the county, which has a growing population as well. So,
thank you.
Thanks.
So as I mentioned, the population for our seniors is growing pretty rapidly. Over the next 12 years, the number of individuals over 65 is expected to grow by 75%. We'll go from about 190,000 seniors in our community to over 330,000. And so as you reference, housing is definitely a need that we will be facing. And although there aren't recommended growth requests, this was something that we all take seriously, and the number of priorities this year was just so difficult narrowing down what we had the resources to fund. We will continue to look at the needs that were identified by the SAS team, along with the Aging Adult Commission and the stakeholders that provided input to address some of the needs that they identified. I think it is going to be incumbent upon our department to continue to work with system partners and community-based partners to find creative ways to provide services that will allow our seniors to remain safely in the community where they can also live with dignity. So that is a challenge for us moving forward, and we will continue to look at ways to meet their needs. Another challenge facing the Department of Child, Family, and Adult Services is a continuum of care reform. And I think you've heard a lot about it. It is the most sweeping reform to hit child welfare in at least 2 decades. We are a year and a half into it, and we are completely committed to the vision behind it. We believe it will lead to better outcomes for foster children. We have successfully launched certain aspects of it, the resource family approval process. Sacramento continues to lead the state with timely approvals. The state put forward a 90-day timely approval, and we have managed to do it since the beginning of the program. We've had many other counties come and observe to see how it is we put this into place so effectively. We've been working with our foster family agencies as they too have made the conversion to this new resource family approval process. We're meeting monthly with our group home providers to help them shift their program model to meet the new requirements under a short-term residential therapeutic program, again, as a requirement of the continuum of care reform. Moving forward, July 1, we still have more aspects to launch. We start our level of care assessment, which impacts all our case-carrying social workers. October 1st, we launched the Child and Adolescent Needs and Strengths Assessments, which are required by CCR. We'll be working closely with Department of Health Services, partnering with behavioral health to meet that need. And we will continue with our recruitment efforts as we seek to increase capacity in our community for stable and nurturing homes to place our children and youth. So CCR brought a lot of new mandates to child welfare, and as is not atypical, the costs associated and the resources needed to really implement this well have proven to be more than what was initially anticipated. We are hopeful that some of the advocacy efforts taking place will lead to more funding from the state, but that remains to be seen. But in the meantime, we're ready to continue implementing and moving forward. And then the other challenge facing DCFAS is the Title IV waiver. We have been able to invest in services and supports that we know lead to better outcomes for children and families, but they aren't supported by the traditional Title IV funding methodology. So since entering the waiver, CPS has invested in intensive relative support services as well as intensive family finding. And we've got some providers who have partnered closely with us, and we're really seeing some successes in kids that are getting to permanency, particularly kids who were able to find forever homes with relatives, with non-relatives that have been in foster care for longer periods of time. We also invested in prevention, which is not allowed for under the traditional 4E funding structure. As I'll talk shortly, we invested $2.5 million into our 9 local family resource centers, and then we also expanded our early intervention family drug court that has very impressive results on keeping children and families together and out of foster care. And since entering the waiver, we've seen a reduction of the number of children in foster care, a reduction in reentries, and a reduction of the recurrence of maltreatment, children that are getting abused again. And we have seen our permanency measure for kids in care longer than 2 years. So those are the ones, the longer you're in care, the more difficult it is for us to find a forever family. That has improved by 39% since entering the waiver. We've exceeded the national standard. We're outperforming the state standard. So it's been a great opportunity being in the waiver. Now the bad news is the waiver is expected to end September 30th of 2019. And so we are looking at ways that we can sustain the efforts in which we've invested. We are keeping a close watch on the Federal Families First Prevention and Services Act, which does allow for some prevention services as well as some kinship services. That is still being kind of sorted out. And the state is working with the federal government on trying to advocate for flexibility. And we will also explore other opportunities to try to plug some gaps because the services we've invested in have been valuable.
If you pause just a moment.
Sure.
Supervisor Kennedy?
Just want to go back to that. There we go. You say it's expected to end. Is that with a fairly high level of certainty, or? So waivers have been around, gosh, I think since the 70s, and every 5 years they say it's going to end, it's going to end. And this year they're saying, seriously, it's going to end. Now, it's never over until it's over. From what we've heard from our LA colleagues, they are advocating strongly to try to convince the federal government to extend it. It's just unknown. At this point, we've been told, brace yourselves for the ending of it. And we're keeping a close eye on it. So, Mr. Gill, I would like to see us make sure and put this at a high level of importance when it comes to our legislative agenda. Got it. Thank you.
Can I dovetail off of Supervisor Kennedy's comments? I think it's a good one. I'd also like to understand, too, since you mentioned there's concern expressed by other counties, other child welfare agencies, what is our National Association of Counties doing, if anything, about this to work collectively on preserving the waiver?
I can't speak to the national efforts. What I know is that in California, of the 58 counties, only 9 chose to go into the waiver, and then 2 got out because their numbers were going up. So there are 7 out of the 58 counties. Luckily, LA is one of them. And so we're rooting for them. And hoping that they'll prevail in their efforts.
And with NACO, I'm not aware at this moment, but we can reach out to NACO Executive Director, see what they're doing about it.
Okay, thank you.
And then my last slide deals with the impact, or addresses the impact of the first 5 reduction as it specifically impacts our 9 birth and beyond family resource centers. And as you know, we've been partners with them for many years. This year's hit to the first 5, from first 5 to the family resource centers is $1.35 million. First 5 has been funding services for the birth to 5 population. So when Sacramento County entered the waiver, we wanted to make that expand to 18 so that it could include families with children who were 6 to 18. And so we were able to do that. Now, with the reduction to first 5, from first 5, the birth to 5 population still remains our most vulnerable age group. They represent the highest number of calls we get to our hotline, the highest number of investigations, highest number of children that are removed from their families, and they remain the largest age group to be in foster care. Also, national data show that is where the most critical incidents in child fatalities occur. So while we would love to be able to preserve services for our older kids, our proposal is to shift $1.35 million of the $2.5 million to plug the gap for kids birth to 5. That then there's still $1.1 million available to address 6 to, it's clearly not going to go to 18. Our hope would be that it would be able to go to at least 6 to 9, because that is the second most vulnerable age group and the highest that we see in child welfare. So that was the proposal in order to prioritize the population that is most at risk.
I'm sorry, I thought you were still speaking.
No.
Would you like to have a question
Thank
here,
you.
Mr. Cerna?
So I want to make sure I understand what's presented on the slide, Michelle. So what is in the CEO's recommended budget is a reduction. Well, it is a reflection of the fact that First 5 has a declining budget by design. It's no secret. I mean, we've known that this is coming. But what this reflects is a recommendation to narrow the age cohort that we would continue to serve, with a smaller allocation. So what ages will this necessarily exclude? Well, does it exclude 6 to 18? Does it exclude 9 to 18? You're probably well aware that the Child Abuse Prevention Council has, and others have expressed great concern about the reduction, and I have great concern about it as the chair of the First 5 Commission, and someone that really appreciates what the Birth and Beyond programming has done for all the communities that our 9 resource centers serve. So I guess what I want to understand is, A, be clear about who this recommended budget is not going to serve, mm-hmm. and B, what would be the options for this board in our deliberations if we chose to pursue some kind of bridge funding, or is there an expectation that there may be some state or federal funding on the horizon that might be able to serve a missing age cohort here that wouldn't necessarily require a full fiscal year of funding assistance from the county?
Mm-hmm. So I'll start first with stating that I share your concern about this impact. I too value all the services provided by our Birth and Beyond Family Resource Center partners. We have a very strong partnership. So what in my conversations with Sheila Boxley, it is real difficult for them to narrow down exactly how far the money will go because they've blended so much of the funding. They're experts at leveraging every last dollar. So sometimes they're serving a family that has a 4- and 5-year-old, but they also have an 11- and 12-year-old. So trying to get to the actual cost per child is a bit difficult. My hope is, again, and this would take work with CAPSI and the 9 family resource centers, is that 1.1 million would be able to cover families that have kids 6 to 9, because again, that's the second age group that's most vulnerable from the child welfare perspective. So what we would be then giving up is services for families that have children 13 to 18. With respect to whether there's other funding coming our way, I know that Sheila's been working very hard around the state. There's a state home visitation program that's in the governor's budget, and it's fully expected to pass, and that would allow for home visitation services to families involved with CalWorks. And I believe Ms. Boxley is working with our Department of Human Assistance in trying to assess that. So there's the possibility that that would be an additional revenue source coming to Sacramento to address the home visitation services that are provided by the Birth and Beyond Family Resource Centers. And then, as I mentioned earlier, there's the Federal Families First Prevention and Services Act. And part of the funding part of the services that would be allowed would be home visitation. And so that could be another option of funding. I don't know, however, when that federal funding will come down. It appears as if the state funding would come much faster.
Supervisor, I might just add to that. Thank you, Michelle. That's a great clarification. A couple points. Yes, there is these possibilities of other funding sources. We've been tracking the budget discussions as they go on day by day. As Michelle said, it looks pretty clear like the CalWorks home visiting money is going to go through. But as you know, once it goes through, the state has to have discussions about allocation methodologies. So we don't know exactly how much Sacramento County will get. Our track record is good in terms of what we get from those efforts. But we're going to be very much involved in those discussions, and we'll see what we get. Then the other thing, too, of course, is that once we get that money, there's the competitive nature of putting it out there, which is also a state priority, is that we do it that way. I will say this, though. It's on a fast track. And it looks as though we'll know how much we're going to get by the fall. They're aiming at this launching by the first of the calendar year. So that's a pretty fast track.
So if it's the will of the board during our deliberations that we want to have a healthy discussion about this and understand what options are in front of us, if we want to, let's say, for instance, entertain the mission of not skipping a beat in terms of having funding available for children aged 0 to 18, what would be, what are our options in terms of bridge funding, assuming that we have an optimistic outlook, as Bruce mentioned, about some prospective state funding, but obviously it depends on when that state funding materializes. So if in fact that is the mission of the majority of the board, that we'd want to pursue that and continue uninterrupted Birth and Beyond programming for the same broad age cohort that we've been serving for years, I would like to kind of have those options in front of us so we have a clear roadmap of what we're talking about and what prospectively we may ultimately vote to do.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Any other questions for Michelle?
If I could, Madam Chair, just very quickly, just on that, though, we have had some additional information submitted as it relates to the bridge funding, and I think where the request actually has come in for about half of what was contemplated. Still would be the reduction, but to take us through basically January. So I think it needs to be part of the view here. So
I assume that would be one of our options.
Right. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Looks like we're at a point to take a break. Is there anything else that anyone's aware of to bring before we break?
I just want to point out that your closed session is continued to tomorrow.
Okay. So we'll be back at 2 o'clock. Thank you.